It's time for Ink the Book Show with your host, Ryan O'Connor. And now, let's ink the book. My name is Jordan B. Peterson. The B stands for Beatrice, except I don't like Beatrice. I just like B, and that's all. You may know me for my world-famous books on behavior and discipline. Well, I have a brand new book with 12 more rules for young people, featuring brand new rules such as don't put gum in your hair unless you want a haircut. Those who color on the walls are doomed to repeat time out. And running with scissors is assuredly a one-way trip to chaos. Now, you might ask, well, why would I need 12 more rules to live by when I don't know what to do with the last 12? And I would answer that question with another question. Have you ever considered that rules themselves require rules of their own in order to properly follow them? If you haven't asked yourself that question, you might find that your life may soon be spiraling into an inescapable hell, the likes of which you might find rather disagreeable. This new book, called Jordan B. Peterson and his 12 Rules for Riding the Stupid, Smelly Bus for Kindergartners, is coming soon to a Kindle near you, or wherever Canadian-authored books are permitted. Yours in Christ, Jordan B. Peterson.
Holy smokes. It's me, Ryan. Hey, everybody. We're putting on a show. We're drawing a book. Let's see here. So yesterday, I wanted to do 2 pages. I only did 1. I'm still on par for where I want to be this month. That's my goal. My goal is to hit page. I don't have any lights on. Page 80 of my graphic novel Bonehead by December 31st. I'm on page 54 today, and I'm on par. If I hit a page a day, every day of December, I'll get to page 80 by the end of December. And but I want to get ahead of that because I probably don't want to be doing a page on Christmas Day. Probably don't want to be doing one Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve. Well, you know, there might be some rough days if I have to do one every day. So the goal is to get a few pages ahead in the next couple weeks. So I did two pages a few days ago, and but then the next day I forgot that I was going out for my buddy's birthday, and so I'm back to where I would be anyway, but that's okay. Let's see if I can get this stuff set up. So I have a guest coming on today. And, well, I'll just leave it at that. So, so this is what I did yesterday. That's Bonehead, the titular character's buddy and direct supervisor, Mort. He's wondering why Bonehead hasn't come back to his post yet. So today We're drawing a lot of the bosses at the Poison Factory. You see all that? That's what we're drawing. So, let's get into it. Like I said, somebody's coming in today. I'm going to turn on some lights in here. The Lord knew what he was doing when he said, "Let there be light." So, also, I'm going to have this piece of chocolate because I'm messed up. It's all melty, I think. That's my treat. Oh, and look at this. I went out and I dug out this old wristband I used to wear in high school. It says "Bite Me." I forgot about that. I found it right. It was exactly what I was looking for. I knew I had a smiley face one is all. And I wanted to wear it because I figured I almost wore this thing on my shirt, but I figured I wouldn't be on camera so much that way. So I got my friend's enamel pin that she made on Kickstarter. My friend Kane, who is in the links below. Her Twitch link is in the links below. I'm wearing her. I thought wearing it upside down would be better, but it's going to be upside down on camera. So there we go. So I figured this way it would be on camera with me while I ink. Just a moment. I'm going to get a new piece of paper to test my brush strokes on. Because look at the one I'm using. I can't tell anymore if I have a good point. Okay, so we got a bottle cap here. Boom. I wonder if that is my guest watching. Check out the link I sent. If you did. I mean, if it is you. See? I was talking about this yesterday. How this speedball ink is making me look bad. It just leaks all over the place. Now, usually when something stupid happens, it's me. Okay. Yeah, it is my guest. So I think I just didn't have the cap tight. Well, that's okay. Will forgive me. Dude, what a nincompoop. What the what? I think this is a disaster. That ain't good. There's ink everywhere. It was bad before. This is worse. Okay. So just trying to make some room now. I don't need more ink all over this desk, you know. Jiminy Christmas. I'll usually pour the ink before I come on camera too. Should have done that. So it's not even on camera. There we go. Okay. So yesterday, I was talking about how I went to get my emissions test done, and I was passing through my childhood neighborhood, and oh man, it was nuts. I made it a point to drive by the 3 places I lived in that town between the ages of 6 and 15, and maybe it was just shy of 15. I think it was just shy of 15. I lived there for 9 years though, and drove past each of the places I lived, and drove past my elementary school, my middle school, my high school, and the church I went to, the park, what do you call it? The recreation center, the little league fields that I played at, the parking lots I used to skateboard in. Went by the where the video store used to be. Not much has changed other than the video store and the dollar store are gone. Maybe I didn't recognize the dollar store because it's a $1.25 store now. No, it's like a temple, actually. That and the house my parents lived in. So there were 2 townhouses we lived in, and then my parents bought a house, and the house was it was like yellow now, and they had removed the front deck. And one of the townhouses, they had like giant flags waving in front of the front door. I don't know what flags they were, but man, it was eerie how nothing, like in a good way, kind of. I guess it was just a little like it was so crazy how nothing had really changed, and then I was driving through the town in my car, just playing music, and then like songs were coming on that were from the time I lived there. Like Everclear was coming on, I know, and like some Blink-182. That's where I first started liking Blink-182, and man, it was just like it was getting emotional. It's like where did the time go? I'm dying. No, but it was really cool, really beautiful, and yeah, it was like I got the same. Like I get the vibe from Pete and Pete too. Like when I go through my old neighborhood, it's just like this perfect, beautiful suburban paradise. And yeah, just like a quiet little town. And I thought it had changed more, and it just hasn't. It was kind of beautiful and wonderful to me. Oh, and I was saying yesterday too that I drove past where the movie theater was because I used to live right by a movie theater. Like my house was here, then there's a fence and like maybe another house and then the movie theater. So I lived like real close to the movie theater. And I don't think it's a movie theater anymore, but I forgot to even think about what it might be. Like the same car wash was there. The car wash is very identifiable. I should have drove past the water towers. That there were like two distinguishable water towers in my neighborhood that we always used to ride our bikes down to. So that was wonderful. What else? Oh, that's the end of my life. No, when I went to my elementary school, they had a bunch of like trailer classrooms because like they were like expanding. They were like transitioning to be a bigger school, I guess. It looked the same, but I think there were some additions in the back that I could kind of see. Um, oh yeah, and then I got lost, and I ended up behind the elementary school at one point, and that was a really cool surprise. Like I wouldn't have gone visiting the back of the school, but because I could see the blacktop and the jungle gym and like where we would have recess every day. And man, like I just had all these memories flooding back to my elementary school days that I'd forgotten about. That was really nice. Um, let's see. When I say high school, um, I mean my freshman year high school because I went to a different high school for the rest of the time. I still live pretty close to the other high school I went to. Okay. Um, so this guy that I'm drawing, you might recognize if you've watched any of these videos. You might recognize from the very first scene. So the first 22 pages of Bonehead has this skeleton guy as an astronaut. His name is Denton Crux. And now he's bald. And he doesn't look like an astronaut anymore. So I think we're in the future. Or maybe the present. And that was the past. You see. And I washed the hell out of my brush yesterday because I think the past couple streams, like before long, it was really fighting with me. and it feels like it's real smooth right now, so I think I did a good job. You don't want ink sitting in the brush. It's bad news. It just makes it more strenuous to pull a line for me. So more it's a bit rougher, tightening your point finely. You know what I mean? Need a tight point to do some of these lines. Though I always forget. I'm trying to focus more on line weight, which I should be doing on this character. Okay, so we're gonna pull some bolder lines here. Stand out. Okay. How's that look? I was always kind of a wimpy artist. I was afraid most of my teen and 20s years, I was kind of afraid to commit stuff to ink. I used to doodle a lot in pencil, and I was always kind of afraid to commit to things in ink. So I was afraid it would mess up the drawing, and it would be unfixable. And that's a cowardly impulse. You can't get better if you don't try to. You know what I mean? So I was afraid of inking to begin with. But if I did ink, for the longest time, I would never, I would just do even lines. I certainly wouldn't have even tried a brush. How to use like a fine, I'll show you what I used to use all the time. I've showed it before. This Pilot Precise V5 rolling ball pen, extra fine. And I used to do comics with this. Let's see. I don't want to move those other pieces of paper because they'll probably spill ink all over the place. They're kind of a little saturated right now. Hey, look who it is, everybody. It's my best friend, the whole world. How are you?
Hello.
What am I looking at? Oh man, your screen's broke.
My screen's broke.
Yeah. Oh, that's not an effect, huh? Your screen.
No, it doesn't look like that on my phone.
Rip off.
Hang on. Here.
Yeah, jump out and jump in. I think that'll fix it.
Did anything change?
No.
Okay. Let me leave.
Stupid idiot. No, I'm just kidding. No, it was doing that with sound on a lot of my siblings recently, where like they would come in and their sound would be all whack, and then I think it's still
Did it
like
fix
that.
it?
No.
It's still not working?
No.
That's super weird.
Yeah.
So why is it doing that?
I don't know. Now it's like an avatar. Now it's back to that.
The crazy screen?
Yeah. Like I smashed my television.
Yeah. Has this ever happened before?
No. My siblings came on the other day and they were having issues with their sound. Like my brother would hear me like real deep pitched, and I didn't know what he was talking about, but he jumped out came back in, or like their sound would be out or something, and they would jump out and come back in, and it would be resolved. But it was
Okay.
it
Let-
kind of kept happening.
Let me try it again.
Okay.
All right, I'll be right back.
Okay, yeah, look at this line. Let's get some ink on here. And then look at this sucker. I can barely even draw with it. You can't even see that from here. See those little chicken scratch marks? That's what I used to draw comics with. And I can, let's see. I can get fine lines like that if I need when I'm drawing these pages. But look at this. Look how much diversity in line weight I can pull off. I cannot. Man, this one I can barely draw with at all. I wonder if I didn't use an extra fine one back then. Maybe it was just a fine point. These are just ones I found in recent years. Here, let's see. Let's try this one. Maybe it's the pen. Yeah, so this is what I used to draw with. Yeah, this is exactly what I used to draw with. So it is extra fine. But there's still no diversity in line weight. Yeah. And if I needed darker stuff, I would just spend a year chicken scratching the meaty blacks in. But no one will ever see those. Actually, I really have no idea where they are. Probably in a box in my basement somewhere. Here's Mr. Shivers' hand on Denton Crux's shoulder. Oh. No, still like that. Are you? Oh. Is it your phone or your computer?
I'm using my phone. You want me to try using my computer instead?
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. Did you have stuff to show specifically anyway?
No.
Okay.
You didn't tell me to have show and tell. Okay, let me try my computer.
Okay. I mean, she can show stuff if she wants. I know she makes stuff, so. Yeah. By the way, we'll get in. But she's got stuff to show and tell if she wants to. So I'm gonna make this one heavier because it's all back behind his body. Yeah. Okay. So I forget what I was saying, if anything. But yeah. So yeah, that's. Oh, there's a recognizable face. Hiya.
Working now?
Yeah, you're a little quiet.
Okay. Well, the problem is now I've got this glare thing. I had it all set up. We'll try it again with the phone sometime and figure it out. But I had it set up so that I wasn't like having the glasses glowing situation. But
Oh,
whatever works, I guess, right?
yeah.
That was weird. I'm an actual person. I'm not a weird staticky shape.
Close.
Hello.
Hi.
So is it still really quiet?
It's yeah, it's kind of it's like a little muffly.
Okay, let's see here.
Okay.
Speaker, internal speakers. Tell me if this gets better. Is it getting better now?
Maybe.
Did it change at all?
Maybe a little bit. It's kind of similar, pretty similar. But I think it was louder. But
Thank you. What happened? This is really troublesome. Okay, let's see here.
well, the other thing I don't think is you. I think it's
Now is it working? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I couldn't hear you any of that whole time.
You can't hear me at all?
Now I can, but I'm trying to fix the volume issue.
Okay. Now am I?
Oh yeah, you sound great now.
Okay, there we go. It just was defaulting to some weird settings.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the first one I'm pretty sure was StreamYard goofing up. Which
Well,
is weird because I haven't
darn
known
StreamYard.
to give any other people problems, so I don't know why.
I'm just better than everybody else, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hopefully this isn't like a super weird angle because I didn't really like practice setting this up. But I wore this t-shirt just for you.
Yeah. I think I have like 4 or 5 shirts with Rocco's Modern Life on it now.
Nice.
But
all right. So I can see the chat, or is this just a chat? Yeah, this is the real chat. I can participate and talk to you. This is crazy.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever had anybody else in the chat besides you and Chris, Zach and Ben.
Your number one fans.
Yeah. That's okay. They don't know.
I posted about it on Instagram.
Oh, thank you.
4 people have seen it. So, I mean, we might get a crowd. I don't know.
Yeah, I usually post to Facebook and Twitter, but I forgot to, because I haven't been doing it lately, kind of out of shyness. But I sent it out on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
the link, and I said that you were here.
I'm here, finally.
I think you've seen this. Have you seen this?
Yeah, that's Carthy's thing, right?
Yeah.
I don't really know much about that. What are they called? Cryptids?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much about that particular one.
Like cryptozoology.
What? Yeah, I don't know the lore of the Mothman, right?
Oh, I don't really either. I think it's, I don't know. Doug TenNapel has a book called Bigfoot Bill, and The Shadow of the Mothman is the first book. And it was like right about that time I started hearing a lot of people talk about cryptids. A couple years before that, They Might Be Giants had put out a deck of cards with there's a different cryptid on each one.
That's cute.
Yeah. But I don't know. Cryptids is the new thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
So what did I missed? I was trying to listen at the beginning so that I wouldn't come in and be like, "What's going on?" But then I got very distracted with my technical issues. You were getting nostalgic and talking about your home and school and stuff.
Yeah. So I was just driving through my hometown yesterday, and I was like, oh man, I gotta see everything, and
Mhm.
it was kind of it was a little surreal,
Hmm.
just because it's like all still here, but I'm old now.
Yeah, did you already
I can't go
Yeah.
around playing in the woods and on the playground and stuff anymore.
Did you already talk about how we know each other?
No, I didn't. So I did mention that I passed by my freshman year high school, not my big boy high school.
Yeah, we don't talk about freshman year. We don't
Uh,
talk about that. It was the lost year.
but for the remaining 3 years, I went to a new one. I don't know what I should withhold from saying, if anything, but I went to a different high school.
What you should withhold from saying because you have some scathing reviews.
What? No, I don't know. I don't know how. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna name it. When I started going to Larkin High School in Elgin, um, I think after. See, all the high schools had like a specialty kind of uh,
They call
thing.
it a magnet school.
A magnet school.
Magnet school. So a magnet school is when a school has a specific program that pulls students from outside of its district. So
Okay.
if you weren't necessarily in the zoning to go to that particular school, but you were accepted into that particular program, you would be able to go to it even though you weren't like zoned for it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was like 4 different high schools that had a magnet program.
Yeah, and Streamwoods was like their history program, and I remember hearing that Larkin had an art one, and I remember when I first heard about that, I just thought it was immediately like, oh man, I wish I went to that school, not this stinking history school. I ended up finding out that I liked history a lot, but I mean, I wasn't in their like focused history classes or anything. But eventually, my parents moved, and I ended up going to Larkin, just like out of sheer luck for me. But the depressing thing was I had lived in Streamwood for 9 years, and it was like between 6 and 15, and look at my filthy hands. My ink just wet the bed all over me. But but every friend I had made in the world, I had just, and honestly, I wasn't that far, but like as a 15-year-old, it was like a million miles away.
Mm-hmm.
And
it makes a difference when you can't drive anywhere.
Yeah, it didn't help that I didn't get my license till I was 20. But
oh my God, is that true?
Yeah.
I didn't even remember that. What
Oh, it was
the heck,
pathetic.
Brian?
If anyone watching this is in high school, do not wait until you're 20 to get your license. It's like chopping your own hands off. You're like you miss out on so much. I'm realizing these days. But
that's hilarious.
But yeah, so I had like kind of lost every friend I had in the world in a lot of ways. And then so I'm at this school. I would sit at lunch by myself and just be like, I got to get into that art academy. Otherwise, what am I doing here? And so yeah, I was like working on pieces, and I kept hearing from the art teachers like, oh, it's very hard to get in like after your freshman year, and because I was a sophomore now, and I was like, if you say so, okay, well, I'll try my best. And I put together some portfolio. I know I did a pencil rendering of Abraham Lincoln, some kind of beast holding a staff, but it was from the back. It was all moody and stuff. And I think I did a portrait of John Lennon. And I think it was all pencil drawing. I'm sure I had maybe some cartoony stuff in there, maybe some like ink and. Oh, I think I did I think I probably did some oil pastel drawings because I always liked oil pastels. And then I got in, and that's where I met my friend Kat, who was already in it the whole dang time. Did you? No, you lived in Elgin. Like you would have been going to Larkin anyway, right?
I was gonna go to that school anyway, so it really didn't change anything for me, except for what I was learning. Sorry, my voice. Of course, as soon as you're like supposed to talk, your throat's like, no, I don't think so. Yeah, it wouldn't have changed anything for me except that I just had a totally different. I mean, it was a totally different experience for us being in that program than the rest of the school. Really, I mean, even though we were going to school with everybody else, it was a huge school. I mean, like. The day we graduated, I met people for the first time because they arranged us by alphabet, and I was like, there was all these people that I had never even seen before because the school was just so big. So we were like in this really tiny program in like just a tiny part of a huge school.
That's true. Like there were, the guy, now that you mention it, the guy next to me, the guy and the girl on either side of me, it was like, I knew them somehow, but they weren't in any of my classes. So it was just kind of weird. But yeah, we had this like block of art classes that kind of segregated us from the rest of the school, now that you mentioned it.
Yeah. Well, plus, I mean, the program, it was visual arts, it was performing arts, it was music. So, I mean, there was dance, acting, singing, instrumental, visual arts. So there were, of course, we were all the like weirdo artsy kids in the first place, and then they gave us our own little like section of the school. Like, okay, you go stay over there. So it just kind of like reinforced the like. Look at those weird people over there.
Yeah. I mean, and it did get real clicky because like even the art department was all divided up. And like the drama kids were over here. The I don't know, dance. I don't even remember all the departments you said.
Yeah,
I just remember being like real like those drama kids are freaks.
Well, I mean that is true.
And they would say that about us.
Yeah.
So
there was
like, yikes.
There were all the different grades. So there's 4 different grades, right? And so within our grade, it was just like 7 of us that would pretty much be in classes together for the majority of the day. So, I mean, it was kind of like you either be friends or you don't have anybody to talk to. And so that's why I talked to you, Ryan, because there was
nothing better. No one better.
I'm trying to get one of our other weirdo folks to join in the chat, but she's busy. So we'll see. We'll see if I can get somebody to come on and talk to us. But
don't be mean.
But yeah, I still mostly talk to all of you from high school. It's weird. I mean, I think a lot of people don't really still hang out with their friends from high school, but I don't know. We went through so much together. So yeah, that would have been. I feel like I always do the math and then I forget. What year did we meet? That would have been
2004, 2003.
2003.
I think end of 2003.
Okay.
Right?
That's before a long
Christmas.
Time.
Before Christmas.
It was before Christmas.
I think the second semester. That's when you and I.
Mm-hmm.
The second semester, would that have been before Christmas?
Probably not.
Okay.
Because did we have that weird thing where it was like you go away for 2 weeks and then you come back and do all your finals?
Yeah.
That was awful. That was like who thought of that? Like, you should finish everything and then go have a break instead of having like 2 weeks where you're like, I have to study for
Did we
every
actually?
test.
I think I agreed to that, but I don't remember that. But did that happen?
I know I did that at some school. Maybe it wasn't high school, maybe it was middle school, but I know there was some time where it was like you had to go away for your Christmas break, but it was like you weren't done with the semester, so there was no break. You were just studying. I don't know.
That sounds.
It's terrible. It's a terrible system. But so yeah, that was a long time ago, and we still like each other.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
oh God, man, you guys are like my favorite people on earth.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was like, I spent a lot of time in the art department at community college, and I spent 3 years exclusively at art school.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that was the best art environment,
Mm-hmm.
like art classroom environment.
Yeah. It was amazing. I know it changed over time, but because they kept losing funding, which is really sad. I mean, that's just the kind of
the last year
struggle
was
for
like
public schools.
the end of the last year just really didn't feel like the same thing. It was like the same
No.
people, but the wrong vibe.
The poor teachers were just they had way too much on their plates because they just kept cutting things and overloading classrooms, and it was bad. But for the most part, I think the art education that I got in high school was unbelievably good. I mean, like really surprising for a high school level art program. I felt like, because I went to school for art as well after high school, and I felt like I was so much more prepared for stuff than so many of my classmates. Like my freshman year of college, people didn't know how to do presentations and critiques, and like I don't know. At some point, I think people caught up, and then I I did not keep getting better. But it was just weird to me that I came into it and people were just like they hadn't done any of this before, and I was like, I've been doing this already for 4 years. Like, come on, let's do this. But yeah, I guess it was weird. Sometimes you don't realize that your experience is so much different than somebody else's, and like the other people weren't having these classes and getting ready for college, but also grain of salt because it's art. So
I mean, I was in the same classroom as you, and I don't feel like I was getting ready for college. I don't know what I was doing, but it just seemed like
maybe it's a difference in personality too.
Yeah, no, I was always a terrible student in everything, like including art. I wasn't studying. Or I didn't retain any hard work that I did. Like I didn't know, I didn't learn any lesson, maybe, but that's probably on me. But it was a good time. I know that.
Yeah.
Did we do presentations and stuff?
Yeah, you had to like get up and show your work in front of people and talk about it, or like research other people's work and stand up and present about it. Do you remember Mila's presentation about Salvador Dali?
Oh yeah.
And it was hilarious. I don't know, like little stuff like that has stuck with me. There was just so many funny, weird things. I mean, art is such a crazy subject, and there's so many weird things that we would talk about. And it was definitely a good time.
Yeah. It really helps when you can, I don't know, when you just got like people to like goof around with while you're kind of I just feel like we also got to work on whatever we were interested in a lot of the time.
Yeah, we had a lot of freedom, especially certain years. You missed the really strict freshman year. We had like this very, very intense teacher who was super strict. But I made like some of the best work I've ever done in my life because I was like terrified of her, and she was so particular and really, really pushed us. So I feel like some of my like freshman high school artwork was like better than some of the stuff I ended up doing like years and years later, just because I had such an intense person pushing me to do all of that. But yeah, you missed out on that.
That's what I really needed. Man, I'm just remembering now, like you always had like a very strong sense of what you wanted to be as an artist. And I remember not quite getting your big idea. And now I see it like in full bloom and it's so cool. Like I was like, so she repurposes images and copy like I don't know. I just totally didn't get what you did. Like, but I don't know. Like, what? Why don't you talk about what you do? You're in your studio. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is a really good segue because I started my business after graduation from high school before I went into college. So I started college already owning my own business, and I was really, really focused on that. You know, like I went into college and was meeting people and telling them like, oh yeah, I have this thing I'm already working on, you know. And I mean, like legitimately, like I got a business license. I had everything. I was going and doing events and selling stuff in person. And I had a shop on Etsy. This was 2006. So Etsy had only been around for like maybe not even 2 years at that point. So that was a very new thing. And actually it was my mom was the one that told me I should do it. Cause I don't know, my mom is always like on top of this kind of stuff. So she would always be telling me like, oh, you know what, this is going to be a big deal. You should pay attention to this. You should try this. You should do that, you know? And so she was like, there's this thing called Etsy and it's going to be important. It's going to be a big deal. And you should get on there. And I mean, she was right. So
I just bought something from Etsy like the other day.
What about Etsy? You bought something on Etsy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge, right?
Yeah.
So and you know, at that time, like eBay had already been around for a while. And that was a big thing. So like, you know, you could tell things were happening. And that was kind of, I don't know exactly what year the DIY like maker movement really started to like have its resurgence, but it was kind of around that time. Like Etsy had kind of started happening, and then there was like this really big push for like independent makers and artisans, and like people starting to get interested in that again. And it just kind of all started to erupt, and that's when a lot more like the craft fair world kind of shifted. So it wasn't so much like the kind of like tired out like stuff that you would see all the time that you don't really pay attention to at like the craft fair, so-called. It started becoming more of like people who legitimately had businesses and were into like small scale production and like really high end stuff. And they started doing all of these events that were like, you know, not your mom's craft fair or whatever, like that kind of thing, you know, kind of around that time. And it's not like I really cashed in on that like right away. because I started my business and then immediately went into college, like obviously I was a little distracted. So I focused on college, but I still had this like business thing going in the background. But I didn't really start to see like a lot going on with that for several years. You know, it was like a little bit quiet for the first couple of years. And then I was actually just talking about this recently. I got my first wholesale order while I was in college. It was probably my junior year of college. It was the first time that I had someone reach out to me and say, I really like this item. I need you to make a large amount of them so that I can sell them in my store.
Oh, dang, that's so cool. And
So that was really exciting.
Can you say, do you remember what they were buying?
Yeah. So I was doing it because you kind of started to talk about it, like that I was doing a lot of like repurposing, upcycling. That was also really like a lot bigger deal at the time.
Something I wanted to say was like, I think it kind of started with you bought your own, in high school, you bought your own print, what do you call it? Printing press? No.
The little tiny screen printing thing.
Yeah.
I bought like a tiny Japanese screen printing machine, and I had a button maker. I don't remember. I think I got the button maker first. But I don't remember when I got the tiny screen printing machine, and I still have it. I don't know if I really have all the parts. You can't really buy the parts for it anymore, but it was like this self-contained screen printing system from Japan. And so, yeah, I was just kind of like doing my whole DIY, like kind of like very like punk rock sort of like that whole movement of like, you know, you make your own buttons, make buttons for somebody's like garage band, like, you know, somebody's playing out behind somebody's house and we're going to sell some buttons, you know, that kind of like homespun punk rock DIY, like that whole sort of mentality. Do you remember zines?
Yeah.
People were making zines and that was a big thing. It was like around that time, you know? So what I sold to wholesale to this person, I was making these little sets of buttons. My mom was working at a library in the children's department of a library, and so they would throw out books all the time, like when books were falling apart or you know, damaged or whatever. They would discard these books, and so I would take pages out of these kids' books that had like little illustrations, and I would make buttons out of them. And if I wanted to make a bunch of them, I would just cut out the shapes that I wanted for the button and then like photocopy and make a bunch of them. I was also, at the time in college, I studied graphic design, which I didn't end up going very far with. I just minored, but I had started taking classes to like do some digital designs and stuff. So I was making these button sets. I wish I had one. I know that I have them somewhere. Like I could dig them out if I had like a couple hours. But I was taking cassette tape cases, the little plastic cases that your cassette tapes would come in. I would get them at the thrift store, and I would take, if they were like in good condition still, because you could usually find them in the shrink wrap sometimes too. I would take the tape out, take all the stuff out, and, you know, I measured everything and printed out my own like packaging that fit into the cassette tape case. And then I would stick these like 6 little tiny pinback buttons into this case. So you could like see them from the back. When you looked in, you could see all the buttons, and from the front it had like my nice packaging and stuff. So I had like woodland animals, and I had another one that was like from a circus, from some like circus themed books, or like, you know, stuff like that. So I had like these little different themed sets. And so this person who had an online store thought that they were cool and wanted to sell a bunch of them. So she just like picked out what images she wanted, and I put these sets together and made a whole bunch of them for her. Oh yeah. You have some stuff. Yeah, it was like that, but it was in a cassette tape case, which was super cool.
Oh, that is really cool.
But
Because
I was all about the like thrifting and
Mhm.
upcycling and repurposing
Oh.
stuff. So I was
And
like, what can I
wish I
buy
bought
that
it. It just
wouldn't
seems
be in a landfill?
like I was so like zeroed in on like, but she doesn't draw her art. But it was like it was so much more like you said, punk rock and artistic and clever and businessy than anything I was doing. You know.
Yeah, I was very
Weird.
interested in that whole movement of like taking something that exists and reimagining it, but not like, I don't know, there is definitely like, there's kind of a gray area when you're talking about like repurposing and upcycling stuff, because it's like you are taking something that somebody else already did and then you're putting your name on it too. So like, yeah, I'm not like, I never was like, look at this drawing I made. It was like, I was like, this came from a book, I just turned it into something else. Or like, it still is kind of out there. I mean, like, it's not as popular as it used to be, but like, especially with furniture, people still buy furniture that's like somebody took furniture and painted it or added like a design element to it, or, like,
Put a bird on it.
yeah, yeah. That was a huge thing in like 2006 to like 2010, probably, putting birds on things. I'm sure I put birds on many things. And bicycles, putting bicycles on things was really cool.
I should say your link is in the description to your Etsy store. I'm pointing
Cool.
with my filthy hands.
Yeah. Disgusting.
Where you sell like laser cut, because that's your new thing. Laser cut jewelry and accessories.
Yes. In 2011, I started adding in the laser cut stuff, and that was doing better than any of the other stuff I had, any of the other upcycled, or like sometimes I would just sell straight up vintage stuff. Like I would find new old stock supplies or something, and like sell actual vintage stuff here and there too in my shop. It was very very mishmash of like stuff that I made, stuff that I repurposed, stuff that I just bought to resell. But the laser cut stuff was doing better than really any of the other stuff. So I just kind of leaned into that. And I was outsourcing everything. Sorry, I have these Bluetooth headphones that are, I feel like I have ears that are not like other people. Like I never can get headphones to fit right. Anyway, so I was outsourcing all of the laser cutting because now it probably sounds kind of weird to say that I was doing that, because like it's so common for people to own lasers now, because they've come down in price and they've made them to like fit in your home and stuff. Same with 3D printers, but like in like 2011, it was like a big industrial piece of equipment that most people didn't have in their house, or even have access to like within their community. So I was doing my designs and sending them to a company in California, and they would cut everything out for me and then just package it without like doing anything to it. Like it would just come right off the machine and go to my house. And so I had this long back and forth with like making a design, sending away, waiting for it to be made, waiting for it to come in the mail, getting it, and then finding out if I made it right.
Yeah.
Like if it really looked right when all was said and done. And I did that for a long time, until I got a job at a makerspace that had that equipment. And then not only could I like go and make stuff and like see it immediately and see if stuff worked, but then I was actually able to learn. Like I already had somewhat of the background of knowing how to design for things to be made on a laser. And then I just had to learn how to actually use the laser. So I had my coworkers were teaching me how to operate the machine. And then I was kind of giving them tips on like optimizing things on the design end. And like, you know, there was a lot of like everybody kind of researching back and forth and learning the best ways to make things with it. And then I could teach other people. And a big part of my job was helping other people with their projects who would come into the makerspace and want to use the equipment or want to make something on the equipment, and I would operate the equipment for them, which was really cool. I also, while I was there, you know, I did Etsy classes. I helped people with learning design software. So it was like I ended up having this like, you know, I always had like a regular job, you know, in addition to having my business. I always was working somewhere else. But then when I was at the makerspace, it was kind of a lot more seamless. You know, it was like what I do at home every day, what I want to do with my time anyway is what I'm going to do at my day job, you know?
And I feel like you always kind of were in like a somewhat, you always kind of kept yourself in a somewhat relevant environment.
Yeah. I mean, I really think
to any kind of success, like
yeah, I mean, I think it's really stupid what people say when they're like, what is it? You do something you love and you'll never work a day in your life or whatever. That is a dumb saying. Because you are going to work, going to work a lot. But like I think the more appropriate way to say that is like, if you do something you love, or at least if you're doing something that you're really interested in or invested in, you're going to be more successful at it. That's more of a realistic way to look at that, I guess. Like, you know, I, on a normal basis, was going in like my normal free time, was researching stuff and practicing stuff and learning about all these things that applied to my job that I would have been learning anyway, that I wanted, that I was interested in and wanted to do anyway. So if you can find some place that actually aligns with stuff that you have interest in, or even that you have skills in, it doesn't mean it's going to be easier or like a cakewalk, you know, but it is going to be, you're going to be more successful at it and probably feel more fulfilled because of that, you know? But I mean, I've had so many random jobs. It's kind of like, it seems like a joke. It's like every couple of years, like I would hop over to some new thing. But I always kind of approached my like day job situation as an opportunity to learn a new skill. So I would look for things that seemed like they might have some kind of thing I could learn and apply to something else that I was maybe more interested in. So, you know, for like 2 or 3 years, I worked at that. I was like operating industrial embroidery equipment at that place that did custom embroidery. Do you remember that? Probably not.
Not really, but I feel like there was a point where you like working embroidery into a bunch of your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I made a lot of gifts for people at that time. Because I was like, I was there every day. But it was like, you know, I saw this job listing. I was just kind of looking for something that was slightly creative, you know? So, I mean, really, I was in basically like a warehouse garage operating very loud industrial embroidery machines, like huge. I mean, like not like a sewing machine, like it was on its own like table, like huge machine with like 15 needles going and like multiple machines. So it was like a small warehouse, like industrial environment. But you know, I was like working with clothing and fabrics, and it's kind of in that like fiber arts realm. there's like, some kind of like digital aspect to it where like you're preparing files and putting them on a machine, and like you have the quality control part of it, and like you have to have a detailed eye to make sure that like the image that you have on a file is coming out accurately in like production, so
Yeah.
I feel like it all involved a lot of like I'm working with my hands and doing fine detailed stuff, even though I'm like running the machines that ultimately do all of that stuff, but like, I mean, it's just like such a random job, that I did for, like I said, like 2 or 3 years. But like later on, I got a job at a makerspace where they had an embroidery machine that was like sewing machine size, like the kind that you would have in your home, that I had to learn how to use and then teach other people to use. And I already had, it was just one of those weird things where it's like, well, I did this for 3 years. I know how it all works. I know how the files work. I know what materials you need. I know how to make sure you're getting like the best quality production thing in the end, so like having this weird random job ended up like making sense later for another job, and even when I worked at the embroidery place before that, I had done dog training for like a year. And so when I had all of this creative background, and then I went to apply for this job at the embroidery place, and I put on there that I had worked as a dog trainer. And the person who was hiring me was like, "Oh, this is perfect," because it was like a mom and pop kind of an organization, and they brought their 4 dogs with them every day to work. So they were like, "You're going to have to be around dogs. You have to be comfortable with dogs and be able to like, control them and, and stuff." And I was like how weird, to be like, I had this very random seeming job on my resume. Like, I don't like to leave gaps,
like almost out of place.
Yeah, like I felt like putting it on there kind of was like a weird thing to be like, oh, I went and did this thing that like maybe it doesn't really look great on a resume. But I don't like to leave gaps. I don't want it to be like, what were you doing for that mysterious year back in, But so I had that on there anyway.
Unemployable year.
What?
I said that was my unemployable year.
Yeah. I was just sitting on the couch. So I always include stuff. I don't try to leave things out, and it's always worked to my advantage, because all of these weird things that seem like maybe they're not totally related have like given me all of these random skills over time that I can kind of put together to be like, well, I know how to do this. I can do this. I can handle this situation. So over time, all of these people hiring me have been like, oh, this is going to come in handy.
Very interesting.
Yeah. So I guess,
like
if you...
God wastes no part of the buffalo.
Yes. If you ever feel self-conscious about like the many weird things you've had to do, like there shouldn't be any shame in like finding employment. Like, you find some random thing to do, just do it. If you need to make money, you need to occupy yourself, whatever, like don't worry about it, because it might actually benefit you later on down the line.
Yeah, very cool. So
you have not had that. You've been like, you got a job and you you stayed there, and meanwhile I've been like, over here, over there, over here.
I do everything the hard way. I don't know why, but I seem to be willfully, like, in everything. I just kind of take the...
You make things harder for yourself?
Yeah, like, I don't know if it's like somewhat willful, or I don't know. I just like, I don't like, I'll keep my non-smartphone, thank you. I mean, I have an iPhone now, but I was like the last guy to get a smartphone.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I like... I don't know, but you take the high road, I'll take the low road, and
I don't know if it's really a
I'm just
high
kidding,
road, low road thing.
No, I'm just kidding.
But thank you for thinking that.
He's saying I'm gonna beat you. I will defeat you. No, I'm very envious of your art business. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it too.
Yeah. Yeah, we have talked about it quite a bit.
Oh yeah, that's right. Kat's like my secret mentor.
You don't have to keep it a secret. You could tell people about how great I am.
Kat's my mentor. But I keep like kicking all of her advice down the road because why? Mm-hmm. I'm a complicated guy. I do things the hard way. But mostly it's because I've got this comic to make, and then I can't even. I was trying to make elements for a new did you see my did you see the beginning of this video? I don't think you did. Have you seen the Jordan Peterson thing?
No, what is that?
You know Jordan Peterson?
Mm-mm.
You don't know who Jordan B. Peterson is? I don't know. Watch this.
Who's Jordan Peterson?
Here he is advertising his new book. Hold it.
My name is Jordan B. Peterson. The B stands for Beatrice, except I don't like Beatrice. I just like B, and that's all. You may know me for my world-famous books on behavior and discipline. Well, I have a brand new book with 12 more rules for young people, featuring brand new rules such as don't put gum in your hair unless you want a haircut. Those who color on the walls are doomed to repeat time out. And running with scissors is assuredly a one-way trip to chaos. Now, you might ask, well, why would I need 12 more rules to live by when I don't know what to do with the last 12? And I would answer that question with another question. Have you ever considered that rules themselves require rules of their own in order to properly follow them? If you haven't asked yourself that question, you might find that your life may soon be spiraling into an inescapable hell, the likes of which you might find rather disagreeable. This new book, called Jordan B. Peterson and his 12 Rules for Riding the Stupid Smelly Bus for Kindergartners, is coming soon to a Kindle near you, or wherever Canadian-authored books are permitted. Yours in Christ, Jordan B. Peterson.
And that's Jordan Peterson.
That is really good advice.
Unrelated question. Are you familiar with Junie B. Jones?
I am familiar with it in the sense that I've heard you talk about it many times.
Really?
Yes. Yes, you've talked about it quite a bit. And so then I started to remember that at the end there when you were showing the book cover.
Oh, okay. Oh, you know what?
So Junie B. Jones.
Yeah. The
Jordan B. Peterson.
The first Junie B. Jones book is called this Junie B. Jones and a Stupid Smelly Bus.
Okay.
I misunderstood my drawing here.
Uh-oh.
So I gotta do some damage control, I guess.
This is the behind the scenes magic here.
Yeah.
The secrets that they don't tell you.
Yeah. So wow, what was I gonna ask you?
Well, I'm really looking forward to that book coming out.
This is page 54 of the story. So it's probably about my 64th, 65th page out of 230 or so. And then I didn't tell you about this, I don't think. My new idea is that I think I'm gonna break it down into like 24-page issues as I go, and just release like black and white 24-page issues on. I don't know. Can I do that? If I get it made through another company, like a comic book,
Mhm.
can I sell that on Etsy, or is that
Yeah.
like no?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, if you have like, you can't arrange like a third party fulfillment
Right.
on Etsy, but if you had a third party print it and then you sold it on Etsy, that's fine. And you can also disclose who your printer is if like they have a feature that you can add a production partner, so you can say like, I wrote and illustrated this book, but it's been printed by blah blah blah
Okay.
production company or whatever. Yeah, you own it, you made it, you can put it on
Okay.
there.
I've been wondering about that because
Mhm.
I think I might do like this like small run of black and white comics. I have the first 3 kind of planned out, and I'm gonna have to do a little bit of supplemental material for like covers and stuff like
Mhm.
that, and maybe like to round out to have it reach 24 pages
Mhm.
each time. But I'm cleaning up pages. I've been saying that forever though. For the first issue, I think I'm pretty sure I ought to be able to go to my local library, and I know you're a big fan of the local library,
Yeah.
and scan these pages in because they're so huge.
Mhm.
And one
Yeah.
thing I always say is like, I know it's like I went into this book not knowing how I was going to scan the pages, and but I didn't. I was like, I'm not going to let that stop me though.
Yeah.
This time, because I know it's within the realm of possibility to scan these pages, and that was my idea. Because large format scanner printers are expensive.
Oh yeah, there's no reason at this stage to put
Yeah.
that kind of investment down, and when there's so many places you can go to use a high quality one. If you were into like big time production,
Mm-hmm.
if you're cranking this kind of stuff out all the time, then yeah, you might want to have one. But yeah, if you're just, I mean, you kind of have to try to save where you can save.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's smart to say like, this is, you know what, I'm gonna get started and I'll figure out some of the logistics later. Because sometimes you can get really hung up on like, how's this going to work in the long run? How's this going to work? How, like, I have to have all of these ducks in a row, and then at least for me, and I think a lot of other creatives struggle with this, but um, being having the motivation and inspiration syncing up with like the timing and like having everything in alignment, it doesn't always happen. Like,
Yeah.
you can't force yourself to be in that creative, motivated mindset sometimes, so it's like when you're ready to do something and you have the idea and you have the motivation to do it, you just sometimes you have to dive in because you might lose that. And especially for me too, I think like sometimes when I have an idea, I'm like, okay, you know what? I got to find something right now, and I got to like write this down or draw something and get it out of my head onto something else. Because if I just keep it up in my head, like it might not be there tomorrow.
Yeah. You lose that passion if you don't kind of
Mhm.
like keep it moving. And I think that's my thing with this comic too. It's like, because I dove in and just I was like, I'm not getting distracted and hung up by the stuff that might the external stuff that might halt this. I'm just focusing on just keep drawing and having fun and enjoying it, and then while I'm drawing it, I'm kind of planning all the time too. Like, and it like ideas start coming to me, like, oh, I'll bet I can go to the library and print it or scan it rather. And I don't know, but it's like I heard that guy Doug Tenaple once say what he say that I was going to say just now. Don't put your fate in other people's hands. Which I really like.
Yeah.
So it's like, if someone's going to stop me, I know it's me. That's the worst offender. So I'm not going to be that guy.
Yeah, I think I get in my own way most of the time. I also have a problem with like taking on too many things.
Yeah. I always have a million ideas. Like, because now I want. Oh, that's what I was going to say before. It's like now I want to do all these videos for this YouTube channel to make the videos more interesting. It's like it starts knocking out my daily drawings, and then also, but I don't know. It's like all the millions of things keep combating each other.
Yeah. I went on quite a career tangent, I guess you could say, of sorts. Like last year when I moved, I guess I didn't say that either on here, that you and I know each other from our youth, but I'm not out there anymore. I left Illinois. I'm in California now. It's very sad. I know. I'm sorry, Ryan. I broke your heart.
That wasn't right.
And so last year I got out here, and obviously things were like shutting down, things shut down like the day I left Illinois. So that was a good adventure. But anyway, once I got out here and moved into my new house and had been here for a little while, I ended up, I thought, why not take another one of my passions, hobbies, whatever, and monetize it. And I started, I got a booth at an antique store, and I was selling antiques. That was quite a distraction. In my head, I thought and maybe some other creative multitasking, multi-job people relate to this, where you kind of are like, ooh, I need something else to bring some money in. I need to get some things rolling here. Especially if you're working on a project and you don't quite have the funding for that project, you kind of are like, well, I got to do something else to sustain this. So for you, I mean, you've had a stable job for a long time. And for me, I left a stable job to move across the country. So I kind of had this like little like panic attack where I was like, oh, I need something else. I had decided that I was gonna just do my work, my business full time for the first time, and I was just gonna do that. But I don't know. I guess I got scared, and I was like, what if that's not going to be enough? So then I thought, I'll just do this resale thing because I'm good at that. I know I can find stuff. I've sold stuff on eBay. I've sold stuff on Etsy that's, vintage stuff. I thought it would be fun and wouldn't be too complicated. But it was like taking all of my time and focus, and then I wasn't putting all of my time and focus into the thing that I really needed to take off, So this thing that was supposed to be supplemental and sort of just help me fund some things for my main business, it was just like, it took all my time. It wasn't really making money. I actually ended up not even breaking even. I did it for like somewhere around 9 to 9 months to a year. I did like the antique thing, which it's weird to think about that I've been out here long enough to be able to say that, but I stopped doing it, and I still, like, with rent for my antique booth and the money I was putting into buying stuff to resell, it just took away all the profits. So I hadn't even broken even until like recently. I just did I did like a rummage sale to try to get rid of some of the stuff I still had, and finally broke even and made like $100 or something, you know, after almost a year of trying to sell vintage. I mean, and that's understandable, right? I mean, if you think about it, like when you're starting a new business, you don't really assume that you're going to be profitable within the first year.
Right.
But it was like so far from being profitable that I was like, why am I doing this? If I had maybe put all of my time and energy into doing just that, then I could have done it. But that's not what I wanted to be doing in the first place. But I always get myself into those situations where I'm like, well, what if I should do this? Or what if this isn't good enough? And maybe I should try to do this other thing. And then it just takes my focus away from the more important thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so my day job, it's not an art job, but you know, I was getting art jobs here and there. And then it was like my last one. It's like one day they just stopped calling me back, and everyone was like, "Oh, you should call him back. You should call him back and ask him what's up." And I was like, I don't know that I want an art job anymore. That isn't this, because it's like personally it wasn't fulfilling. And I was like, you know, I thought I wanted to do this and I thought I wanted to do that, but it was like, I don't know. I felt like I was just chasing stuff that was more of, you know, a boss standing over my shoulder and telling me what to do. So I don't know. So I haven't seen the job where like I can kind of roll it into like a learning experience, or like personally I haven't seen it yet, but I don't know. Maybe I'm not. I'm also maybe not being as creative about my situation as you.
Yeah, I think that's also kind of just my personality thing too. I don't think it's necessarily like easily recognizable. But I think that's just part of who I am in general, that I've always been very good at focusing in on things and getting something out of it that works for me. And maybe that's I guess you could see that as like maybe a selfish perspective, that I'm looking at something and I'm like, what's in this for me? But like it's not like it takes my focus away from doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But like I always try to approach what I'm doing as, I mean, I look for things in the first place that kind of catch my eye as being potential for that. But I also kind of think about skills in a broader sense than I think a lot of other people do. And I've always been like that. And not just with like jobs, but with just anything in life, any situation I'm in, you know, I always try to pull something out of it. Like what is there one thing I can focus in on that I'm going to take from this, you know, whether it's like a class that I'm in, or a movie, or an event that I go to. I always try to focus in on some kind of detail that I'm going to remember later or apply to something else. And that's just how I've always been for my whole life.
Yeah, like these washing machines, they can probably wash a whole cast's worth of costumes at once, huh? I don't know.
I also feel like sometimes, and it's really, really hard, but you have to kind of let go of some things that aren't working, and it can be really hard to recognize that. But like I was saying with my business, when I started to notice that the laser cut part of it was really the thing that people were interested in, maybe there were some other things that I was more interested in or was still interested in doing. And I just kind of had to be like, you know, that I'm going to phase that out. And then really like probably it's hard for me to try to think about like the timeline here, because the last couple of years have like completely thrown off my my perception of time. But I would say like before I moved, that like the couple of years before I had moved, like when I was working at the makerspaces, when I was really kind of focusing in on what worked and what didn't, and polishing things, getting things really presentable. And then since I've been out here, really like trying to streamline what I do and get a cohesive look to my business. I rebranded my business in 2017. And that was a huge deal. And I've talked about that. I think you probably saw, because I talked about you in that Instagram post that I did back in August. Let me see if I'm going to look it up, because I'm pretty sure that I mention you in it. So August was when I was celebrating the 15-year anniversary of starting my business. And so I did this little post on Instagram. You can go check it out, where I talked about my kind of like the evolution of my logo. And I showed my first business card that I made, which was like some random like graphics and like some hand-drawn stuff, and like I printed some things out and cut some things out and like glued it all together and then photocopied it, which is a very like DIY sort of, like we were talking about zines before. It's very much like that kind of era of making things. And then not too long after I had started my business, I pulled you into it and I had you draw my logo.
Yeah.
And I used that for like, I don't know, probably from like, when did you do that? 2007, 2008, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. That sounds right.
Maybe 2008, 2009. I don't know.
Yeah.
I used
I
that
while I was going to community college.
Yeah. Was that when we were both at community college? Doing the printmaking stuff?
Yeah.
Because Ryan and I did actually, I forgot. We did end up having some classes together again later.
Well, that wasn't even like during the regular school year. Like,
no.
I think we were both on a break, and you're like, "Hey, do you just want to like throw down a couple $100 and we'll take this printmaking class?" And yeah, you and me, we took a printmaking class in like August, like for $300.
It was a really funny thing because and this is definitely a tangent from what I was talking about before, but I will get back to what I was talking about. But when I started, because I went to a private school, a private Christian university to study art, which sounds like it doesn't make any sense, but they had a really, really good architecture program, a really, really good art program. They had just like started breaking ground and building a brand new art facility when I had first started going there. So it was great. And so I was really excited because when I first, like, when you first go to start school, you sit down with like the either like your advisor or registrar or somebody. You're going to go through and plan out like your courses that you're going to take and kind of get an idea of your 4 years or whatever that you're going to be there. And so I was going to study graphic design. That was my main thing that I was going to do. That was when I started, that was going to be my major, which I did not stick to. But I had seen, I had this idea planted in my head about taking printmaking because I had seen it listed on like suggested courses or something. And it was one of those things where like you have to take all of these like gen eds and like basic classes and like all the introductory stuff when you first get there, right? So at some point I got to the point, I'd been there for like a year or two. And I was like, all right, I'm ready to do this printmaking thing. Let's make that happen. And my advisor was like, oh, we don't offer that. I was like, what? I was so mad. So
a lot of that happened to you for a while. Like,
yeah,
I kept pulling rugs out from under you, didn't they?
It's one of these things that you don't really find out until you're in school, that schools pretend that they have classes, or I guess maybe not pretend they have classes, but they list
like
things because
stuff.
Yes, and they also they will show things that are like, what you're studying here could lead into this. So it's like, oh, if you take all of these courses that we offer, you could put those together and go study interior design. But then it's like, oh, well, but we don't offer interior design, but you could take some of those classes that'll get you part of the way and then go do it somewhere else if we haven't added it yet, a lot of schools do that, and it's kind of a bait and switch thing that you don't really know about at the beginning. And then sometimes they do have programs that unfortunately get cut over the course of you being there. That's just the way things work sometimes. So fortunately, I was able to go to the community college. I said, okay, well, screw you guys. If you're not going to teach me, I'm going to find somebody else who's going to teach me. And I went and I think I took a little bit more than you did. I think I did a few more classes there than you did.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember you being there the whole time. But yeah, it was in the summer, and it was, the printmaking teacher was so cool, and it was very laid back because it was a summer course. So it was a very small class. There weren't a lot of people around. That was another time when we really got to just kind of do whatever we wanted, because the teacher was like, you pick your interests. I'm going to show you how you do this and what the basic skills are, but you can make whatever you're interested in. And he was like, let's just print on t-shirts. Let's practice this. Were you there when we were like playing with the gunpowder?
Yeah.
We were doing like silk screen prints and then covering them with gunpowder and then lighting them on fire. And
I didn't actually do that. You did do that.
Yeah, I did.
You did. Was it a shirt for?
Yeah, I made a shirt for a friend. I made a shirt for a friend of mine. It was like the symbol, Command S, save symbol. For another graphic design nerd. But yeah, it was stuff like that. It was just like super fun. And so in the midst of this, I was like, I asked you to do a logo for me. And it was a cute, I wish I could like bring in a graphic right now to run across the screen. It was this really cute little cartoon of me.
Yeah. I think I remember saying like the year before you probably switched over to your new branding, I was like, I should redraw that for you.
Yeah, you always were like, that's not my best thing. It's not my best work. I used that for so long, and for that whole time you were like, I don't know. I was trying to look around and see if I had like a little thing I could just hold up, but it was so cute. It was like a little retro cartoony version of me, and my business was called Cheshire Cat. And I went under that name for a really long time. Sorry, it's happening again. I used that name for 2006 to 2017. And for the bulk of that, I had that cute little logo from you. And at some point, like, you just did the head first.
Oh, yeah.
And then at some point I asked you, it was just like the head and shoulders or something. Yeah. And then I had you do the full body so that I could use it on some other stuff. And after you had done my logo, then I had you add, you did a little cartoony version of Chris.
I did?
Which we had you do a little cartoony illustration of Chris, because then we used that wedding? On our wedding invitations.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that. So there's a little cartoony Chris somewhere.
Did I do yours better for that? Because I
like redo.
That would have been a good. That would have been a good opportunity.
I don't think you did, because I think what you did, because that was all around the same time when you first did my illustration. I also asked you to do Chris, because that would have been, because we got married in 2011. So I think it wasn't that long after. But when I remember when I asked you to make the full body, you just took you took tracing paper over the existing like head and shoulders and just made the rest of it. So you didn't modify the existing illustration, you just added on to it. And then later on you were like, oh, I should redo the whole thing. It could be better. Every time I was like, look at this amazing logo that Ryan made for me, and you'd be like,
you'd always give me
could have done better. Huh?
I think you'd always give me gifts with it on it or something, or it would always like
Oh
turn
yeah.
or something.
Yeah, I was always like making it into other things and using it on things, and I updated it over time a lot. Like I would change like the background and like the surrounding imagery with the little cartoon and like change that over time. But then I fully rebranded in 2017, which was sort of accidental because I was actually trying to launch a second business, which failed. So I launched a second business. It didn't go over well. And then because I had put so much work into it, I decided to just merge it with my existing business, which is when I just rebranded everything. So yes, I did have a second failed business.
Can I ask what that one was? I don't.
Yeah, see, this is why it failed, because nobody knew it was happening. That was when I did that Kickstarter campaign, which failed.
Did I don't remember.
No,
Probably
it
not,
failed. I don't know. I don't know what happened, because I was like, I guess I also am kind of one of those people that this is what I should say. This is the background I should give on this. So even though I have had my business since I graduated high school, I've never been one of those to like try to sell stuff to people I know, like friends and family. I tell people what I'm doing. I talk about what I'm doing, but I don't like being a pushy salesperson.
Same
Like,
here. That's
if
why
you're
this
interested,
channel has 26 followers.
see,
And
yeah,
I won't
you
push
get
it
it.
to
You
my
get it.
Instagram audience yet because I'm shy.
Oh, well, you should. You should.
I will.
You should at least share it with your Instagram people. That's my thing. Like, I'm like, you can follow along with what I'm doing. You can ask me about what I'm doing, and I'll tell you about what I'm doing. If you're interested in it, you can participate in it. You can be a customer. You don't have to be. You don't need to feel like you have to support me. So I think this is where the problem was, because then it came time to like, I was going to do this Kickstarter, and that is essentially exactly that. You're supposed to go to everyone you know and ask them for money, basically. And I was like, no. If people are interested in this thing that I'm doing, then they can participate. They can, I had the Kickstarter with all the different rewards, and I was like, if people want to get these things, then they'll back it, and I'll be on Kickstarter where like people can find me through that platform, and I'll put it on all my social media, and like people who are actually my customers can go and see this thing that I'm doing. That did not work. So what I was trying to do, this is like, I know this is a super common thing now, but like 2016, 2017 was still sort of the height of subscription boxes. And I know that a lot of them are still popular now, but it was really kind of more blowing up then. So I wanted to do a curated craft supply subscription box. So that was at like a more affordable price point than some of the other ones that were out there. So I would like pick out all these craft supplies. I would make some parts of it sometimes. I had some where they included vintage supplies. So it would be like a very small collection of this themed craft supply box. And so I did this Kickstarter. So it was like, at certain levels, you could get this many boxes. I had I think I had some special things that I was including. Anyway, I did this Kickstarter campaign. I pushed it really hard. I mean, I was talking about it constantly on my Instagram account. I did not get enough backers. I don't think a lot of people understood fundamentally what Kickstarter was. Like, a lot of people that were within my contacts didn't quite understand that it wasn't just like that it was like you give me money, you get this product.
Yeah, I'll
sort
pay.
of an exchange.
I'll buy into it tomorrow.
Okay.
Next month.
Yeah. Yeah, people didn't understand that there was a time limit, that it was a ticking clock. A lot of people also didn't get that you could buy into it, but if I didn't get the funding, you were like, no money would exchange hands. So I'm pretty sure there's people who backed it who assume that I did get that money and do something with it, which I did not. That's not how Kickstarter works.
Artist.
If you are unfamiliar with Kickstarter,
you burned all these bridges that.
Yeah, for real.
Matter.
I mean, like my mom was like sending it to relatives and stuff, and I think that like I did have some amount of people who were backing it, you know. But so yeah, if you don't ever use Kickstarter, you set out and you say, this is the goal, this is how much money I need to make for this project. And if you don't get enough people to accumulate that amount of money by the time the timer is up on your campaign, none of the money comes to you. Whereas with something like GoFundMe, you say, I'm trying to raise $1,000. And if you get a bunch of people that give you, you know, you get up to like $800, they'll give you the $800. But Kickstarter is like, you say you want $1,000. If you didn't get enough people to say they're going to give you money that amounts to $1,000, you don't get anything. That money doesn't come out of that person's account. So my campaign did not work. I did not get the funding. I did not get any money from Kickstarter. I had already put a lot of money into, because, you know, you have to like put the stuff together and like photograph it, make videos. I had Tyler make a whole video for me for my Kickstarter. Did you know that?
Yes. And I think the subscription box sounds familiar. Why didn't I back it? I didn't back it.
I don't know. You're a scumbag, I guess.
I think so.
What a jerk. No, it's that mentality that I go back to where I was like, if people are interested in, like, why would Ryan back this project? He doesn't want a box of foofy craft supplies that he's never going to use. You know, I mean, like that kind of thing where I was just like,
now
if people
I would
want
totally
it, they'll back
it, and I would make the hell out of something up.
I would do it would be a very different, like with Carthy's thing, it was like, I need to make this project. I need money for it.
Dude, you're
gonna get this product.
I was talking that Kickstarter up on this channel
every
day. I was so into it because it was brilliantly simple. I thought I really admired that campaign.
Yeah. And you know, it works really well for some people, and I think that is a good thing there too. The point of it being really simple, like this is what I'm making, this is what you're getting, this is where your money goes, you know. So that didn't work. It is what it is, but I had already kind of started it, you know, to get to that point.
Right.
So I was like, and you know, like I had this logo that I had worked on with a friend. You know, I kind of like sketched out some rough ideas for what I wanted my logo to be, and then I had someone who had much better lettering skills make me this nice crafted logo, and so I just, like, a lot of it I just was kind of, there you go. I was like, this is a waste. If I think that was one of the Kickstarter rewards, actually. I think the button pack, if you flip it over to the back, I think it says, thank you for supporting Crafted.
Yeah.
I think that was supposed to be one of the rewards for the Kickstarter, which did not end up ever happening.
Didn't pay a cent.
So I still wanted to do. I still wanted to try to do it, and I guess I was really stubborn, and I was just like, fine, people aren't gonna jump in at the ground floor, but I'm gonna do it anyway, and I'll just try to get customers later. And I mean, I launched my own website with an e-commerce platform just for the subscription boxes, and I had all the subscription boxes that I made, and I still have piles of these gosh darn subscription boxes stacked up.
Really?
I barely sold any. It still didn't work. I mean, my Kickstarter failed, and then I tried to do it as a business, and that did not work. I had one successful box that like sold out, because I got another person on YouTube to do a video about it. And so then that box sold out because all her fans were like, I want to get that. So that sold out. And then the rest of them, I mean, I sold a couple here and there.
You haven't
But
cannibalized,
ultimately,
you haven't cannibalized all of it for other stuff?
I mean, I kept a few of them because I thought like here and there I'll give them to people. You know, like over time I've kind of just gifted people these boxes that people that actually would want to use it. There are some where I've just taken the supplies out and tried to use it later. But like I was buying stuff wholesale to make these boxes, so I already had a lot of extra outside of putting these boxes together. So, and then I moved. I did give a lot of that stuff away when I was moving, but it just didn't really. That did not pan out. So that was a waste of time. I guess not really waste of time because I did learn from it, but like, it was not a smart road to go down. But that's why I was like, you know what, I've gone this far, I've put this much work into it. So then I just merged that business with my existing business and rebranded. And that's when I kind of really started to push and streamline and like hone in on a more specific style and kind of narrow things down to what it is now, where it's like all the laser cut jewelry and accessories and things have a much more cohesive look. My branding is much more simplified. It's still kind of like a hodgepodge because I have a lot of different tastes and interests, but it's not as crazy as it used to be. And I think hopefully it comes across as more polished, but I mean, that was the whole thing of just like I was trying to do something else and it didn't pan out, so I pivoted, you know.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm not using that beautiful Ryan O'Connor illustration anymore.
The world will get over it somehow. Do you think you would ever do you see yourself ever doing a Kickstarter again? Have you thought about anything else you might use it for?
I don't think so, because I've tried to do pre-orders for items before and that doesn't even go anywhere. So like I'll make like a sample of something and I'll say like here's this new design. I don't have any existing ones yet. If you want to pre-order it, I'm taking pre-orders right now. And nobody'll jump on it. I don't know why like my customers don't seem to want pre-orders. They just want like they want to see something and go, "Oh, I like that. I'll buy it right now." You know?
Yeah, I was gonna say like I know I've seen stuff that looked cool, but I'm like it's usually like, oh, that would be cool, but I need it by Christmas, or I need that like in my hands this week. So it's like I guess I'm not going with that. So I guess I get that.
It's so much work to put together something and say like, you know, if you give me this much, you get this. If you give me that much, you get this. If, you know, there's all these different levels. Here's all, you have to write out your whole, like, this is why I'm doing this. This is, you know, like they make you write all of this information for Kickstarter, all these details, and you have to put together this whole big thing. And like I said, if I can't even like just like throw something on my website and say, you know, order this now, it'll be ready in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's just met with like crickets chirping. Like, I'm not going to go to all the effort to be like, I need to get this much money. And like, it just doesn't, I have thought about it, like if it would ever work again, because like right now, I would like to buy a better machine. My laser is behind me right now over here. And it's not great. I've had really bad experience with this company and this product, and I just bought it last year, and I mean I've had trouble with it from the very beginning, and there's a much nicer, much more expensive machine that I wanted to get that I should have gotten in the first place. And so I've been thinking about that a lot, where I'm like, it would be really nice if I could get some of that money up front to go into a new piece of equipment that's very expensive. But I just don't see a Kickstarter working for me because of my experience, like I said, with ever trying to get anyone to do something up front with my business, it hasn't panned out. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was trying to think of how I could do something that would maybe work with that, or I started thinking about getting over on Patreon or one of those sites where you can like give a certain amount of money a month or something. I thought maybe I'll do some content for one of those, but then it goes back to what we were talking about before, where it's like, am I just creating a distraction for myself that's not lucrative? So, because there's other things that I could do, like, I thought about doing more of getting back into my Etsy coaching and like, providing some kind of business insight, small business startup kind of insight over on a Patreon or something, what have you, where I'd have like maybe exclusive videos where I talk about starting an Etsy shop or running a small business or XYZ skill that I have, but at the same time, it's like, this is going to take a lot of my focus, and I'm not even sure that anybody's going to actually want this content. And are people going to want to pay for this content? I don't know. So I think I'm just going to have to figure out the funding situation on my own and just like bite the bullet, take the bullet, take the hit, whatever phrase I'm trying to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah. See, like at this point, I would like you to do that because I could use it, but
You would like me to do what? Oh, you would like me to provide that kind of like the coaching and stuff.
Yeah, I would.
But you're getting it for free, Ryan.
I should tip you.
See, that's part of the problem, is that I'm very much into like free information, and I think that if I don't have to monetize every part of my life, so I've done like mentoring, coaching, whatever you want to call it, for people for years and years. Somebody knows that I know how to do this stuff and knows me, not usually like some like stranger, like just random person on Instagram or something, but like people who know me will say like, oh, I'm working on this and I would like your advice, or can I ask you some questions or whatever. And I do. I'm not like, yes, but that'll be $9.95 per hour or whatever, so it feels a little weird for me to like start doing that now. But I guess in my mind, I was thinking like, for people who don't necessarily have that relationship with me, that they would be able to just be like, oh, okay, here's $2. I'm going to go watch your video on how to start my Etsy account or whatever, Yeah. And I did do the YouTube thing a little bit, but I never got anywhere near the point where you can monetize it.
Yeah. You need like 1,000 followers and so many watch hours or whatever.
Yeah. And like again, that's so time consuming.
Yeah. So I don't know if I'll ever get anywhere with that myself, but I still feel like it's, at least for my own, for like posterity's sake, I like the idea of filming this whole thing. And I don't know. I like doing the YouTube thing. And I want to say, this is my favorite episode or little broadcast that I've ever done. This is probably the most entertaining, and this is probably the most what I had in mind.
Well, good.
So far.
I'm glad to hear it.
And I realized my last broadcast, where I had like half my family on at various points, because it was like a 5-hour thing. I did 2 pages, and it was just so. I was like, I got to start like telling people like, let's keep it art focused and like somewhat family friendly. My family doesn't get that.
Yeah, I noticed that. Although I have to say, I only saw the one with your brother, and seeing his, I haven't really seen a lot. I did go to that one party that you guys had. I think it was a Halloween party, and I saw some of the kiddos. But was it Braden that was on that one?
Yeah.
Oh my God, he was so cute, and like talking about his Uncle Ryan and talking with you about your drawings. That was very cute. I did like that a lot.
Yeah, I think my brother said he saw which I haven't put up on here yet because I'm fixing some sound slowly but surely, fixing some sound issues with the cartoon. But I made the 16-minute cartoon of Bonehead in 2019, and eventually I'm going to do something. I think soon I'm going to do something with that on this YouTube channel. But
that'd be cool.
Jimmy showed him that at some point like last year, and I think he was afraid of Bonehead at first. Like he would get real like shaky and like shy about it, like no, because he's a skeleton.
Yeah,
but I think he came around on him.
That's really cute.
He thinks he's funny now.
Oh, well, it was really funny when I watched that. So, like, obviously, I know your siblings, like, sort of. Like, I know who your siblings are. I have had, over the years, I've had interactions with them, but I don't, like, know them. I'm not friends with them. I don't hang out with them. I'm sure they don't know who the heck I am. But when I was watching that, it, like, brought back this Jimmy memory that I have from like really long ago. And also something you said earlier in this about not driving. I think that also kind of went along with this, because I was thinking about like coming to your house in high school, or driving you. I feel like I drove you to your house a couple times or something. Yeah. But there was some time where I came to your house to pick something up or drop something off, or I don't know. And we were just standing at the door, and we're like probably like sophomores or juniors in high school. Maybe, I don't know how old Jimmy would have been. But I'm like 90% sure it was Jimmy.
I think
we're just standing at the door talking, and this little kid comes running over, and he's like, bugging you, saying something to you, and like trying to get your attention, and you're just kind of like, whatever, go away, and you're like, I'm talking to my friend, and he looks at you and he looks at me, and he goes, how many girlfriends do you have?
Okay.
And you got so like mad and flustered, and like you looked at him with like this like, and he gave you the cutest little like, oh yeah, I really made him like, he was so proud that he made you angry, and he gave you this little smirk, and then he ran away. It was so cute, and I just like, I don't know, that memory just like kind of came back to me.
Oh man, I can see it too. And I totally that takes me back now.
Yeah, I mean, and it's so funny, because it was a really good burn too, because maybe not so much a burn, but like a good like jab at you.
Yeah.
Because I guess we didn't really talk about when we were talking about our high school group, we didn't mention the fact that it was you and like entirely girls. It was all girls, and then Ryan. So it was like you constantly, and even outside of our art group, you had so many friends who were girls.
Yeah.
like from like our friends who were outside, like I don't know, you got pulled into like this huge group of us, and it was there were so few dudes in that group. I mean, it was like there was Tyler, but Tyler was not in the art part of it, so you didn't have Tyler to depend on.
Came a little later too.
Yeah. So it was like you and a bunch of girls all the time, and like we were always coming and going from your house, I guess.
Yeah.
It was just, how many girlfriends do you have? It was so funny.
My boss got some misinformation one time, like around then, and he heard that I had taken 2 girls to prom, and never let me hear the end of it.
That is hilarious. So is that because you went because you guys all went together? You drove in. Did you guys get a limo?
No, yeah, I think it was like some kind of Hummer limo thing.
Wow.
I don't remember, but no, it wasn't even prom related. Like some girl had asked me out, and I had planned on asking somebody else out the next day, and I don't know, that's I don't know. He had heard
so
some.
You got a reputation.
Yeah. Everybody in my life was a girl for a little while there.
Yeah. Well, I had some misinformation circulating too around prom, because I ended up we were all going to go in a group, but then I don't know why, but Mila and I didn't want to do like the limo thing.
Oh.
Like I don't remember what our reasoning was, because obviously this was a long time ago. But for whatever reason, like Mila and I were gonna like meet you guys there. So like I went to prom with Mila.
Oh yeah.
And Mila wanted to get photos because it's Mila. Mila wants photos of everything, right? Mila wanted to get professional photos, and so we were the only ones who wanted to do that. So they made us go they separated it. So the photographer did couples photos, and then they did group photos. But because it was just Mila and I that wanted our photos, they made us go with the couple for the couples photo shoot. And so I think the photographers were just kind of confused, didn't quite know what to do with the situation because we were there. It was the couples photo shoot. Yeah. And it was just the 2 of us. So they totally like posed us like a couple. and Mila was like, she thought it was so funny. So she was like, we're going to lean into this. So I have the photos. Her hands are around my waist, and I'm like holding, one of those poses from the side. So like she has her hands like on my waist, and I'm like, I don't know. It's so funny.
I forgot about that.
It was fantastic. I mean,
but she did all the makeup, right? That's why she wanted them to begin with. Like, didn't she do your makeup and her makeup?
I don't think she did mine. I think I did my own. But like, we also had our dresses matched. We went and bought our dresses at thrift stores, and we ended up finding dresses that were like almost the same style of dress, but in different colors. So the whole thing was just so hilarious, and I'm so glad that we did do the pictures, because I have those somewhere. Like, I am never gonna forget that that whole experience. It was so funny. But
I just noticed Meredith in the chat there.
Oh, there's somebody on here. How come I can't see that?
Your sister. Oh, maybe it's just in StreamYard. Are you looking at StreamYard?
Yeah.
Really?
I don't see it. I have the private chat thing is up in, or is it there's comments. Yes, do this more. Do this together more. Well, Meredith has asked for it. That means we have to do it.
Yeah.
Hi, Meredith.
Yeah. Hi, Meredith. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
Did you tell her about it? Or you
Mm,
posted it on Instagram.
I did post about it. Maybe she saw it that way.
Yeah.
Meredith, we're talking about how I went to prom with Mila accidentally.
Dude, I
sort
gotta
of
get
unintentionally.
Mila on here. She'll burn the
I
house down.
told her. I texted her, but you know what? She's doing things, so she doesn't have time for her friends anymore.
I knew you were talking about Milo too.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it because I didn't know if she was going to show up. But now I will reveal that she snubbed us, so she feels guilty and does come on here later.
After all the times I traded pants with her. I don't know if I ever actually traded pants with her.
High school was a fun time.
I traded pants with some other girl.
You did. I remember that. It was a good joke though. But yeah, anyway, you hung out with all the ladies. You got all the ladies back in the day.
I mean, never kissed a girl in my life. No, that's not true, but for all the girlfriends I had, I was not really all that suave or popular in that way.
Yeah. Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's not what matters in life.
No.
I mean,
I spent plenty of time thinking that was what mattered, but
I know.
I'm good.
There's so many things from back then that's like, I wish that I could just be like, dude, just stop. Don't think about this. My mom's here now.
Your mom's here?
My mom's here.
The whole thing?
Oh yes, Meredith is pointing out that not only did Mila and I have matching dresses and take a couple's photo together, but we also had the same hairstyle. Do you remember how we had the same hairstyle for a while?
Yeah, you did. That it was like a short kind of, I don't know, bob.
Yeah, it was like that thing where you like straight. It was kind of like that.
Like what's his name? Johnny Depp in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
It wasn't quite a bob. It was like the like straight, and then it was like angled, so it was like longer in the front and it got shorter in the back. That was really popular. And then I had like the back of mine, I would like make it all like kind of crazy, spiky, curly. Yeah. Yes, thank you, Meredith, for pointing that out. Well, okay, so I've been on here. I was gonna get off soon, and now all the people are coming.
2 hours. It's
And now people are here. Next time I do want to like plan ahead more so we can try to tell people in advance notice so that they come and maybe we'll have to like pick a topic. We could even poll the audience and we could see what people want us to talk about. Because you said you want to have it art focused or talk about like pop culture-y things.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to unpack with those things. So we could like we could see what people want to hear about.
Yeah. So speaking of that, what kind of pop culture stuff were you into in like say the early 90s? Because I always end up talking
early 90s.
Yeah, like I was big into like Ninja Turtles, Toxic Crusaders, anything with mutant something in it. Like
that was a big thing, wasn't it?
Extreme dinosaurs, street sharks.
Well, okay, so I'm going to answer that question, but I'm also going to plug something else while I do it.
Okay.
So I've been listening to this podcast, and this is why I'm plugging this. I've been thinking about things like this a lot. Not that I don't already think a lot about like nostalgic childhood things, but I've been listening to Vanessa and Jonah Bayer's podcast, which is it's called How Did We Get Weird? And so Vanessa Bayer, she was on SNL from like 2010 to 2017 or something like that. I can't remember. I think she was on there. I don't know the years. I know she started in 2010, but you know who Vanessa Bayer is?
No.
She did you watch Saturday Night Live much ever?
I kind of probably fell off around Will Ferrell being on there. Chris Kattan.
Oh, okay, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay, well, she did a really good Miley Cyrus impression that she was known for on SNL. I don't know. She is hilarious. But so she and her brother have this podcast. It's called How Did We Get Weird? And it's very nostalgia focused. And they have guests come on and they talk. The guest picks a subject. So all of the shows are titled like Remember ... So it's whatever the guest picks. So they have episodes that are like Remember Lean Pockets, Remember G.I. Joe, Remember Digimon. So they have these segments where they talk about things that are coming back from their childhood and whether or not they're excited about it. They go through and they have people pick something like, what would be your pick for if you could bring something back from your childhood? What would it be and why? And they like unpack the subject, whatever the subject is that the guest picks, you know, if it's Lean Pockets or G.I. Joe or whatever. They get to talk about like why they picked that and why they remember that from their childhood or whatever. But I mean, Vanessa and Jonah Bayer are a little bit older than I am, but there's still quite a lot of overlap with the kind of subjects that they talk about. So I highly recommend that podcast.
Okay.
But it definitely has made me think about things like that, because I'm always like, okay, so what would I pick? What's my pick for things that I would bring back? Or every now and then they'll talk about something that I really remember. So they were recently talking about Vanessa. One of her picks for things that she wishes would come back from her childhood was the TV show Dinosaurs, the Jim Henson TV show Dinosaurs. And she talks a lot about how that show had so many like deep subjects that they covered, but it's all these like puppet dinosaurs that are handling these subjects and doing it in kind of a strange way. That was definitely a big one. I can't really differentiate. Yeah, that's what she says. That's what she says. Sneaky lady. So I don't really differentiate the early 90s from the late 90s. So I'm not sure where Dinosaurs falls in. But I watched that a lot.
That's I think I remember you talking about that a good bit.
Was that something that you grew up watching?
No, and I think I was aware of it, but it was either never on or I probably didn't watch it because I thought it was ugly.
Yeah.
Which is why I didn't watch a lot of things. But
that also has limited me from watching a lot of things too. If I particularly with animation, if I don't like the style of the animation, it doesn't matter if the story is funny. I just don't really like watching it.
Yeah.
I guess that's my problem, but I can't get over it, you know, if it just has like a weird look to it.
I kind of caught on to that when I was in high school, and like I remember people saying, "I don't watch King of the Hill" specifically, and I'd be like, "Oh, you just don't watch it because it's ugly. Give it a look, and you'll love it."
That's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, Chris was watching that a little bit lately, and or recently, and it's funny. Like, there's some really funny stuff in there, but I just don't. I can't get into it because I don't like how it looks, and I'm like, I'm sorry. But you know, like I wore my Rocco shirt today. I watched so much Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
So much Nickelodeon. I mean, I started with Nickelodeon and like Cartoon Network. That was the earlier stuff, and I think then later when like Disney Channel started to become more accessible, more people had it, because that was like you had to pay for that for a long time, like a special just by the Disney Channel, which things have come full circle, haven't they? Because now you have to, once again, Disney is like a special separate thing that you got to buy on a streaming service. So I did do the Disney stuff later, and I watched a lot of those Disney Channel original movies, but I really, really think more I was a Nickelodeon, PBS, TGIF kid. After school I watched the stuff that was on PBS, Wishbone, Bill Nye the Science Guy. Mm-hmm. Those two mainly were like the big deal. I never watched. I feel like there's been this division of like people who either watched Beekman's World or watched Bill Nye the Science Guy. I did not ever watch Beekman's World. I watched Bill Nye.
I remember seeing Beekman's World a handful of times, and I think that was something my dad always got a kick out of.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time they like did the ding, he'd crack up. But it wasn't.
I still think Bill Nye is funny. I feel like Bill Nye has held up. If I watch that now, I think it's hilarious. You only saw it in school?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was good enough for at-home entertainment, and it was good enough to be shown in school because there was so much good content. I mean, I've watched it later in life, like as an adult, because I'm like, I don't remember this stuff, you know, and it's still, I'm like, oh yeah, that's how that thing works. Thank you, Bill Nye. So yeah, a lot of like the PBS shows, and Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network. But did you watch I ask everybody this. Did you watch the Orange Years, the documentary on Nickelodeon?
No.
Do yourself a favor. Yeah. And if you have access to, I believe it's on Hulu, watch the Orange Years. And it is a documentary specifically about like our childhood Nickelodeon stuff. The 90s Nickelodeon kind of era. And it's all, they interview people who were on there, like people from TV shows, like Kenan Thompson, Larsa Olenek, Josh Server, Kel Mitchell,
LBD,
Melissa Joan Hart. What?
LBD. Lori Beth Denberg.
Oh yes, yeah. I don't remember if did they interview her. They do talk about her, but they also have like people like studio executives and people who were like working behind the scenes and writing the shows, and they just talk about like everything that was going on at that channel, how that channel came about, what they were trying to do in the beginning, like what the whole like goal of the channel was. And not only was it like, it was so good because it was like reliving all of my nostalgic things and they're talking about all these things that I grew up watching and how much I love them, you know. It was like, it made me like, oh yeah, like reaffirm that I'm so glad that this is what I was watching as a kid, because the things they talk about with like why they did it, or like what the benefit of this program was and why it was different than other things on TV or whatever, was making me like, oh, I am so glad that I grew up with this, because like it was really good what they were doing, you know. And like it just made me feel really good and nostalgic. And I wish that I didn't want it to end, you know. Like I was like, I wish this documentary could just keep going for hours and hours.
Where is that?
Very good. What?
Is that on Netflix or something?
It's on Hulu, I think.
Okay. Oh, I just signed back up for Hulu.
Good. You can watch it. It's an independent documentary that somebody produced. That like, it didn't come out that long ago, but it was like one of those things where they made it and it was only available, like you had to order it from them. And I had been like, oh, you know, I really want to see this. Maybe I need to get this from them. And then eventually it did come to Hulu. So I did watch it on there. But it is one that you could like, you might still be able to actually just order from them. It's super cool. I highly recommend that. So that I think that's really like, there's so many different things that I like from like the TV pop culture perspective that I was watching, but I think that was like a huge chunk of it. Because Pete and Pete is like one of my favorite shows from my childhood.
That was like it fit in with the animated stuff on there even, but it was like, it was so, man, nothing comes close to Pete and Pete.
I actually, I have still recommended that to people who did not grow up watching it. because the aim of the show was they wanted to make a show that was about being nostalgic for your childhood as you are experiencing your childhood, which is just like a crazy concept, like people don't really focus in on that like the idea of a kid realizing in their childhood how impactful these moments are for them for the rest of their life, so, and it's still so funny now, like it's the things that happen on that show are still funny, and the celebrity people, like they had celebrities that were just like guest appearances all the time that are like still
like Gordon Dino from the Violent Femmes.
Yeah, they had a lot of musicians. They had Steve Buscemi, like just all kinds of people on there. So I will tell people about it now. I'm like, if you can get a hold of it, I highly recommend it. Even if you've never watched it or never grew up watching it, I still think that it's going to make you think about your childhood.
Did you ever see the Amazon pilot for a kid called Mayo that they made? Like I think Will McRobb, maybe Chris Viscardi or whatever their names are. The guy, I understood it to be the guys that created Pete and Pete. They made a pilot for Amazon when they were doing the pilots all the time. It was a kid called Mayo, and it was similarly like every character's quirky and interesting, and but it never went beyond a pilot. But it was interesting.
I never heard of that.
It didn't seem quite as good as Pete and Pete, but it was like trying to be
trying to capture that magic.
Yeah, and it kind of did. It kind of was a similar sort of thing. It was just really, it was really cute. I don't know. I haven't seen it.
Well, it's too bad it didn't get picked up.
Yeah.
I don't know what else they've been doing. Well, Will McRobb and Chris Viscardi did Snow Day, the movie, which was actually it was a Pete and Pete movie that never happened. Like it became something else. And when you watch it with that, like if you go back and watch it through that lens and think of it as if it were the Pete and Pete characters, it all makes sense. And it even has Iggy Pop, who was in Pete and Pete, is also in Snow Day. Yeah, Iggy Pop plays the guy who runs the ice rink.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I think he's probably the only character who actually made it. I mean, he's not his same character, but I think he might be the only one who came over from Pete and Pete to do Snow Day.
I remember if Michelle Trachtenberg was in it, but she wasn't. I think there's
a
Mona type girl. Or was it? Yeah, Nona. Type girl.
Yeah, it's all very. It is very much that same.
It's got the same bone.
Yeah, and I think that's why that it's good. I mean, it's too bad that it wasn't a Pete and Pete movie. I would have enjoyed that, but they still did a really good job of like capturing that same feeling. That's a fun one. I didn't know until like earlier this year that most of this stuff is on Paramount Plus.
Oh, that's
there's tons. Like I did a free trial of Paramount Plus for a little while, and I was just like watching Hey Arnold and like tons of Nickelodeon stuff is on there. It's crazy. But I already had like enough. there's so many streaming things, I just couldn't justify having another one just for the like fun of being able to turn on my childhood TV shows every now and then. But I'm sure I'll go back and get it at some point just for a little while. But if you are looking for some place to watch all of that early 90s goodness from Nickelodeon, it's all on Paramount Plus for whatever it is per month, $6 or $7. I don't know.
I don't know if it's
or you can get a free trial.
Yeah, we have a free trial on that right now for I think still half a month or so. But I haven't, I don't know if it's all the streaming services or what, but I barely watch anything anymore. I kind of like, I used to watch like 7 things at a time. Like at any given time, I'd be in the middle of 7 different shows. And now it's also because I bury myself in a project now.
Well, I
Good.
think also like you're doing this for like 3
Yeah.
hours a day every
Yeah.
day, and you're talking. You're not like, if I was doing what you're doing, I wouldn't be on here talking to people. I would be watching TV while I was doing it or
Yeah.
listening to a podcast. You know, I mean, like that's what I do when I'm doing my work. I
Yeah.
listen to podcasts, and I if I'm doing something like that's really passive, like repetitive activities, then I will do it while I'm like watching TV with Chris or something, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I've kind of fallen off kind of obsessively watching stuff anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that would be nice to dig into some of that stuff, because that was like, yeah, that's where, I don't know, a lot of that formed a lot of my like deepest interests. Like, you know, Nickelodeon, they kind of were a big part of the boy. I don't know how you see it or what you get from it maybe differently, but it was like that, you know, the slime, and then like monsters and goofy, like the boy stuff, like when you turn on Nickelodeon, I feel like it really spoke to the boy in me.
That's really interesting, because you definitely have to watch that documentary I was talking about, because they bring up this topic from the other side. They talk about I think it's when they were talking about Clarissa Explains It All, and they were talking about how when they set out to do this show, it was like they were the subject of like whether or not this was like a show for girls came up, and I can't remember. You'll have to see when you watch it, but it was something about like that argument about whether or not boys are going to watch Clarissa Explains It All.
And I loved that show. My mom hated it.
And immediately Chris was like, I never thought of that as a girls show.
Yeah, me neither.
So like I think Nickelodeon,
and I hated
had
Ferguson.
like, yeah, yeah, there you go. Yeah, you related to her experience right along with her. I think Nickelodeon did a really good job of like being very in the middle, like boys, girls, whatever. Like it didn't matter. We all liked the content that they were putting out, and it wasn't like, we're gonna watch this part of it, you're gonna watch this part of it. It was like, it was all for everyone, and like it's not something that ever entered my mind. But it's really interesting that like what you're saying, like that there were things that appealed to you that they were doing, even though like maybe some of that stuff appealed to me too. Like it just was such a good blend of stuff that like all of us wanted to watch and could relate to.
Yeah, I'm gonna check that. It's called The Orange Years.
The Orange Years. Yeah, so you watch that, and then maybe next time we can. I'll watch it again just for fun, and then next time we can talk about it. Because yeah, it is a really good one, and it's really interesting to think about that kind of stuff, like the behind the scenes intentions, I guess, of like children's programming. I also watch a lot of this YouTube channel. I think it's called Defunct Land, and this guy talks about different things that are no longer around, but it's like it's a lot of it is TV shows. It's not always TV shows, but he's like, there's a whole episode of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, and Bear in the Big Blue House, Big Comfy Couch, what else? I just watched one that the Puzzle Factory, I think.
What's that?
It was another kids TV show that was like puppets and stuff. So they explore the history of these TV shows, and like I said, it's not always TV shows. Sometimes it's about like theme park rides or like other stuff. But they go in depth, like the history of these things, and like, so if you're talking about like Bear in the Big Blue House, it's like it was there. He goes so far into like who brought together the ideas for this, what puppeteer was brought in for this part of it, what that puppeteer was working on previously, what company was involved with this production, like all of these different things. And like they talk a lot about behind the scenes stuff, like maybe a particular program was trying to get an educational grant from somebody to do this educational program, and like what the intention, what they were trying to teach with this program, or what the point of this show was to be for kids, or like what was missing from children's programming that this show was able to bring in. It's really fascinating to me to look back at that. Like I don't have kids, but it's interesting to look back at that and think about like what was going into what was being fed to me. You know, like what was I being exposed to that like was subliminally teaching me these life lessons through this like fun and different way of doing it. Like there was one about the show Between the Lions, which all took place at a library. And like just all this stuff about like literacy and like Reading Rainbow was a huge one for me. That was another PBS show that I loved. But like stuff that maybe isn't like it's educational, but it's not like overtly educational, you know, like it's kind of a sneaky thing. Like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego was like so much geography and like learning about different cultures and like different countries and like all this stuff, you know. But at the same time it was a detective agency, you know. I mean, it's like it's just really cool to learn about that kind of stuff.
I got one for you. I wonder if you've heard of this place called Zany Brainy.
Yes, Zany Brainy. And if my mom and sister are still watching in the comments, we spent a lot of time there.
Yeah, that place had my name on it.
Oh, I miss that place.
Me too. It was. Did you like if you went there? I wonder if you went to the one in Streamwood or Schaumburg, maybe.
I don't know. Mom, was that where we were going?
That was also right by Discovery Zone.
Oh yeah, I remember Discovery Zone, but I don't think I ever went to a Discovery Zone in Illinois. I think I only went to Discovery Zone in Indiana. Because I moved to Illinois when I was I turned 11 right after I moved to Illinois, I think. So I think I was a little past my Discovery Zone days at that point.
Yeah, I was thinking like if your mom never took you to that Zany Brainy place, it like she just didn't know about it because it's like totally a place she would have taken.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I had to look that up
hung out at Zany Brainy
because I was like, I was trying to describe it on here one time when I was talking about something else, and I ended up looking it up. I'm like, whatever happened to that place? That place was amazing. Yeah. It was just like educational toys, but like very, like, I don't know, hands-on learning kind of stuff. That
they had really cool stuff.
They had a book section and everything. Yeah,
and the whole store. I remember the store being really cool too. Like it had different like just cool decorations and the way the store was arranged into the different sections and stuff. I think
there was like a lot of like interactive stuff that you could do in
Yeah.
the, like a lot of the toys on display and stuff.
Yeah.
to play with.
So you could see exactly what you were going to be getting. Like you could try it and stuff. My mom is in the comments. She's reminding my sister and I that Zany Brainy it was where we learned the difference between things you want and things you need.
Yeah.
It was a hard lesson.
Wants and needs.
Zany Brainy was definitely a place full of things that you wanted.
Yeah.
We wanted it all.
Yeah, I remember going there a lot more than I remember leaving with stuff.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know how much we were really purchasing from Zany Brainy, and maybe that's why there's no more Zany Brainy. But I feel like I spent more time at places like Zany Brainy than like a Toys R Us.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
we,
I guess I
we were
remember.
more like going to bookstores and small stores like that, and Zany Brainy, and I don't know. I'm trying to think of some other stores that were like that. Yeah, like just those stores that had the like science based kits. I guess this was a little bit before people were throwing around the term STEM and STEAM. But it was definitely one of those stores where you would you could go to get something that you would build, or some kind of like science kit, like like if you were going to grow crystals or make slime before like that was such a huge cultural thing. Or like if you were learning about electricity, or like I don't know, like building and engineering and puzzles and that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
That place was cool.
Yeah. Wait, were you talking about Zany Brainy?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like places where you could get that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. There wasn't a lot. I mean, like bigger toy stores had that kind of stuff too, but like this was a lot more focused on that. And that was definitely my jam.
Mm-hmm. That seemed like something you would have liked. I never heard anybody talk about it before, and I almost forgot about it myself until I was talking about some book I remember holding in my hands. It was Goosebumps related at a Zany Brainy, and then I never saw it again. And I went looking for it recently, and now it's like $200.
Jeez, we should have kept everything.
Yeah.
We should have kept everything from our childhood, except for the Beanie Babies.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be somebody somewhere who kept their whole Goosebumps collection, and it's worth an incredible amount of money now.
I would still have my
some
Goosebumps
smart
book
kid
collection if my mom didn't throw it out. My mom loved throwing stuff out when we.
Yeah, I'm way too good at getting rid of things myself, and I do it really fast before I have time to think about it sometimes, and then later I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah, I think my mom
was just on a mission
about some of the stuff, like, but it's like I'm also more like sentimental and nostalgic than is probably practical, or like, I don't think there's a good reason to be as sentimental as I am about everything.
Yeah, I mean, there's a balance, I guess, but you don't know. You don't know what you're going to want later on.
Yeah, like I have like just notebooks and notebooks of my drawings from.
That's really good.
Right. Yeah.
And like you were saying before about like, how you committed to doing this whole book on video on YouTube for people to follow along with. I think you're going to want that later on. Like, I think it's really going to be great that you'll be able to look back and be like, I have documentation of all of this.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I think a lot of us that make tangible things have that same kind of struggle with it. Like it takes up a lot of space, and sometimes you're not super attached to it, or like you can't hold on to it or whatever. And I've gone through so many times of getting rid of old work, but then, later on when you're reflecting on your whole artistic journey, it's kind of sad to not be able to say like, well, here it all is,
Yeah.
Or I mean, when you think about like in terms of like people who gain notoriety and like people put together museum exhibits, and it's like, oh my gosh, somebody somewhere along the line kept these things, and now we have this record of like this really important influential person who made this thing in 3rd grade, and like here it is in this museum or whatever,
Yeah.
like it's really cool to be able to look in on someone else's life like that. But then for me, I don't keep a lot of that around. Not that I'm like banking on the fact that on the like hope that someday someone's going to make an exhibit out of me or something. But like just like it's funny to think that like I will go and pay to go and see this exhibit that like where somebody's documenting all this stuff. But like in my own life, which is like probably should be more important, like I don't necessarily retain that same level of archiving, I guess. So I'm glad that you have the notebooks. I actually, when we were in high school, I kept a lot of stuff that you guys would throw out. Like you and Haley would do a lot of doodling, which I never did. I'm still not a doodler. I struggle with that kind of like if I have to sit down and draw something, I have to put a lot of time into it. But you guys would do these like offhand doodles, and I know I still have some somewhere. I know I have something. I'm pretty sure I have the cartoon that you drew when Milo went away to California. I'm pretty sure I have the happy birthday message that you left in my locker when I went on vacation to England. And it said something like happy London fun time birthday or something like that. I'm pretty sure I have that somewhere. I like at some point I know like way after the fact I did go through my stuff and find that stuff, but since moving across the country I am not certain as to where a lot of that stuff is anymore, but I'm pretty sure that it exists.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have a drawing of a turtle that Haley drew me one time somewhere. I don't know what else though. I feel like I have it, but I don't know where. It's buried in a box in my basement somewhere.
Yeah, it's little stuff like that it is hard to hang on to sometimes.
Yeah,
but it's nice when you come across it later. We went through we sorted through a lot of that stuff last year. No, 2019. Good grief. I told you I can't, my perception of time is so messed up now. When we were going through my parents' house, because my parents moved a few months before I moved. So my parents moved out of the house that they had lived in for 20 years that my sister and I, for the most part, grew up in. And we went through so much of that kind of stuff, old notes and letters and projects and cards and that kind of thing. And then in my own house, I had lived in my house for 7 years, so it wasn't like the same level of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that like, I had been keeping at my parents' house because I didn't have anywhere to put it. So we did go through a lot of that kind of stuff, and it was nice and fun to go through a lot of that. But then, we made a lot of decisions. We couldn't take everything, so there was a lot of stuff that had to go, but it was kind of nice that like if nothing else we kept it long enough to have that time where we got back together again and revisited it, even if that's not going to happen again, if a lot of it has gone away, we did at least have that time where we could look back on kind of a time capsule sort of a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, at some point I gotta go through and figure out what did end up coming with me.
Man. Hey, did you hear about my roommate?
What about your roommate? I know you have one.
I have two. Did you hear
Yeah,
about my
you do have two.
roommates?
What about them?
I think you
Is this something that they need to tell me?
Yes.
I bet I know what it is. So
Maybe.
why haven't they told me yet?
I had a feeling it might.
When are they gonna tell me about this thing?
I'll give him a nudge.
I just wished him happy birthday recently, and he had nothing to say.
It's been a busy time.
Well, I bet he needs to.
Yeah,
fill me in on things. I do need to talk to him anyway because I had been talking about some travel plan things when we saw them before. Yeah, because her brother is not that far from where I am, so we had been talking about potential things later. So we'll, because Chris and I are always trying to get people to come visit us in California.
Yeah, I think
now that it's mostly safe to do so.
I think he mentioned that to me. Like, I might need to come with them or something.
Well, Meredith is freaking out a little bit in the comments now that you mentioned this.
They are not home. I'm looking out my window.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, somebody's home. I think maybe. I don't know.
Oh, and also Meredith, I'm sorry, this is like, I don't know if it's delayed or if I'm just not paying attention to things, but Meredith pointed out that my mom and I went through this mega purge of stuff and sorting through things, and a lot of it got dumped on my sister at her house, so you're welcome. There's a few things that I could probably take back if we and some things that I probably still need to give to you, Meredith, that you might want. But we need to maybe swap some things. But I'm sure Meredith doesn't even remember half of the mountain of things that we piled on her when we skipped down.
Oh, yeah.
Here you go. You are the keeper of these heirlooms now. Have fun. Yeah. Bye-bye. Well, now that you have gotten us all excited and riled up about your roommates, it's probably Meredith says they're jerks, or are you saying that we're jerks because we left a bunch of stuff with you? Somebody's a jerk. Anyway, I should probably go because I need to eat lunch and live my life.
You've been on here for like 3 hours. Which is
3
for me.
Is it 3 hours?
Well,
okay. It's not the entire time, but
yeah,
I've been here a while, and Ryan is sick of me, and
well, no, never.
It's time for me to move on. I hope that isn't actually true. I'm never sick of you, Ryan.
Go on.
We don't spend nearly enough time together. We didn't spend nearly enough time together when we lived in the same place.
That's right. And one of our best friends lives like blocks from me, and I never see her.
Oh, yeah. Has she even come to your house?
No, we're too shy about it, I think. I don't know why. I haven't gone to hers either, though, for the record.
This is like, I'm going to toot my own horn here, and I'm going to say that I was really the social one of the, of the group.
Yeah.
It was like,
yeah, I think you and her are equally like shy about being like reaching out to each other. But
yeah, I think Mila brings the ideas. Mila has all of the like, we should do this, we should do that. She brings that to the table. She brings the motivation.
Oh yeah, and then I was if you don't do what she wants to do.
Yes. And then I was the facilitator. I took Mila's ideas and inspiration and I made them come to fruition. Yeah. And then the rest of you were just like unwillingly roped into all of the shenanigans, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, well, I hope that you guys will see each other sometime since you are neighbors,
Me too.
practically.
Oh man, this is gonna be. Wouldn't that be cool if this channel became like the new Art Academy?
It's our reunion.
Yeah.
This is by us for us. Nobody else is gonna care about what we're doing, but oh. Well, thank you, Mom and Sister, for coming and hanging out with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
My mom, who claims she's been lurking the entire time. I can't tell
she
when there's
has.
viewers.
I'm pretty sure she
I
has.
can't see anything. From my perspective, it looked like nobody was here the whole time. So I guess
There's this
you
little
can see
eyeball up
when
here
there's
that
people.
shows me how many viewers we've had, and it right now it says 2, but it's been fluctuating between 2 and 3. And I don't think it always tells me exactly how many people are in, but I've been seeing it bounce around like the whole time. So
somebody else might have snuck in here, and
really?
we don't know who that is. If there were 3 people,
yeah.
Who is it? I don't. Well, thank you, Mom and Meredith.
Yeah.
And thank you, Ryan, for having me on here.
Like I said, this is like the best. This has been the best broadcast I've done, and I
thank you.
I
You're
think I owe it a
welcome,
lot to
everyone.
you being able to talk. I don't know how to think of things to say, and you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really commend you for coming up with content every darn day for hours a day, because that's quite a feat. So I'm gonna try to. I'll spread this around and tell people that I was on here and that they should, check some of it out. And then maybe we can get some people to weigh in on what we should talk about later. Like, maybe people can give us some questions, and people can give us some topics. I didn't have show and tell stuff. I just kind of talked a little bit about my journey, and how it involves you and such. But I could always do some show and tell things later about more about what I am up to.
Yeah.
But we'll plan ahead, and then we'll tell people that I'm going to be here, and then we'll get a real party going.
Yes.
And you're almost done with your page, right?
Yeah, very nearly.
Oh.
Getting
Apparently, the 3rd mystery person that came in and out was my dad.
Was it really?
It's a family affair. My family is very supportive.
Thank you,
my
Simmons
dad's
family.
texting me. That was me.
Thank you, Simmons.
Yes.
I appreciate you coming in on the.
And my family are very, very big fans of Ryan.
I was gonna say of you. You brought.
Well, yes.
Just
they like me a little bit, but they also very much like you.
I'm no cat.
Nobody is. But yeah, you're almost done, so you'll be signing off soon, I'm sure too. But
might do another.
Yeah, and if I had known that my mom was on here, we could have gotten some of my mom's opinions about Junie B. Jones, because I think my mom might not be a fan of Junie B. Jones. I might have just outed her untruthfully, but we could have had some crossfire discussion happening here. But anyway, for another time, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, maybe my mom can prompt us to talk about books next time, like children's books.
Yeah.
From our childhood. That would be a good one to talk about.
That would be.
And then maybe I can bring some show and tell for that one. All right. Well, I'm going to go.
Okay.
And it's hard to leave you, Ryan, but thank you for having me here.
Yeah, no problem. I am.
Oh, look, it's you. There you are.
I'm always happy to see my good friend Kat. I love you so. Thank you.
I love you too.
All you've talked about and contributed today, and
Oh,
just always helping me with this art endeavor I'm trying to
yeah. I'm always here for you, Ryan.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. It's good to see your face. And
Likewise.
yes, we'll do this again. This is good. All right.
Right.
I don't, now I got to figure out how to get out of here.
Watch Ryan without Cat. Oh, thank you so much. She's okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Love you. Thank you, Simmons family. You guys are wonderful. I am nearly done. I might come back later today and do another page because I'm trying to get ahead. Because if I do, I'm trying to hit 80 pages for the month. I'm trying to hit the 80th page by the end of the month. And that means I got to do a page a day for December. And I don't expect myself to follow through if I have to do a page on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. So some of these days I'm going to have to do 2 pages. I think today is going to be one of those days. But I'll do that in a different broadcast. Jody. Ryan! Oh, she was a little sassy, she says. Some parents don't like her. She was a little sassy. My sister always used to bring those books home, and I would always read them out loud to her in like a Junie B. Jones voice throughout the whole book. I would just do the whole book in Junie B. Jones's made up voice. And I probably read through like 12 different Junie B. Jones books in that voice, at least. Yeah. It's been 3. Got this just sitting up there. It's been 3 hours. That's a long page for me, but I think it's mostly because I've been talking with Kat. Sometimes when I talk, I get really distracted. Not that that's a problem. Yeah, if I get my my high school art crew on here, like all those girls, ooh, that would be a dream come true. I can't wait. What a good thing, bro. I tried. Sometimes. I think me and the youngest one, that was my sister Tara, who's like 19 now. That's freaky. I think we always got along. Because the ones closer to my age, we'd get into fights and stuff all the time. So I'm like 15 years older than her. She's 18 or 19. I'm not I don't know math. I only went to art lessons, and I didn't learn anything there either. Okay. I think this. Trying to avoid tangents if I can help it, but sometimes I can't help it. And then ding this up. And I think I'm done. So I might do Art Academy. Woo woo. Ah, that would be great. I really would love to get. Oh, my cloud is open. I would really love to get Jesse and Haley and Mila on here as well. Or even some deep cuts like Charlene and Danielle. Yana. I haven't seen Yana this is distracting, in a million years. I don't think even Meredith knows who half those names are, maybe. But I think that's everybody. There might have been one more person that I haven't seen in a long time. No, I think Yana's the deepest cut friend in that group. But yeah, if I could regularly get all those girls on, that would be amazing. That would warm my crooked heart. Anyway, I will maybe be back later today to do the next page. Which looks something like that. And, ooh, I just remembered I don't like that pose at all. That's trash. But we'll see. Deep cuts. I might have Kat pull you on too sometime. That'd be cool. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna head out, get some lunch. I need a new cup of tea. I've been out of tea for a long time, and I usually don't go this long without tea. But thank you, Simmons family. You are wonderful. And thank you, Kat, for being my wonderful guest. She made it so easy to, I didn't even have to talk half the time, but what bit I did came way more easy than it was even talking to my siblings on here. So I can't wait to have her back. Goodbye, everybody. I love you, and I'll see you soon. Good.